Okay, I'd like to call the Wolfeboro Select Board meeting to order on Wednesday, July 19th, 2025. It's now 6:30 p.m. Any reason for non-public tonight, Jim?
Mr. Chairman, there is not.
Okay, consideration of minutes. We have June 26th. Anybody?
Yes, I do.
Linda?
On page 5, fourth sentence from the bottom, I would like it to read, Mrs. Murray pointed out that town docks include all docks, need to use Wolfeboro Bay docks, and then it can say no need to distinguish, be specific. I can stay.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I have on page 7, as we go down the page, attribution to my name says his configuration of $17,000 year one plus cost of bubbler, and then right following that it says who pats. It should be who pays. And unless the board objects, I would like the actual work document that I provided that generated those numbers to be added to these minutes.
Okay, anybody else? Somebody make a motion?
Move to approve. Oh, go ahead, Linda.
I'll second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then we have July 3rd.
Yeah,
July 2nd.
I have a number. On page 5, Maggie Steers Talking Heritage Commission, the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth sentence down. The first number should be 400,000.
Correct.
And then on page 6, let's see, it's the 1, 2, third time I am speaking. It said earlier the Friends of the Libby Museum had a business plan to take over the management of the Libby Museum to be successor trustees, 6 to 7 million.
Linda, I don't see any of that. Where are you?
You go from the top of page 6.
Yeah.
You go first one, second one, third one. It says earlier, the Friends of the Libby Museum. I'm speaking. And so I'm moving forward. I think that catches better what I said.
Crystallizes it. Okay, so that's not actually just a change of the words, it's a change of the sentence.
I'm just making it say what I believe is more accurate.
Okay, and I have no objection to that. Thank you.
Page 7, and Christine Collins is there, and we're down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. First word should be mapper.
Yep.
That's the correct name. Yep. And page 8. No, I don't have any on 8. It's page 10, and it is 1, 2, third time I speak, and it says wants to make sure that the select board committee packets are sent to all committees. And then the next sentence can say it did not go out this year. And I think that clarifies what I said. And that's all I have.
Anybody else?
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining. I wasn't present at that meeting. Okay, the Wolfeboro Board of Adjustment will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025 at 6:30 for the acceptance of unanticipated funds in excess of $10,000, accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A, relative to a donation from Wolfeboro Library Foundation in the amount of $63,696 towards the Wolfeboro Public Library solar Energy Project.
So this
Jim?
is to formalize the acceptance of $63,696 to put toward the solar project, which is now complete. This was outlined in the proposed warrant article, which did pass. So this is just formalizing the acceptance of those funds. We still have a couple of grants that are outstanding that could take upwards of 18 months to receive if they're still on the table.
Okay, anybody close the public hearing?
Good job. Motion?
Somebody make a motion.
Move to approve the unanticipated funds in excess of $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A relative to a donation from the Wolfeboro Library Foundation in the amount of $63,696 towards the Wolfeboro Public Library Solar Energy Project.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, I skipped over public input. Does anybody have any public input right now for us? Okay, moving right along then to the bulk vote. Bulk vote includes weekly manifests, intent to cut, property tax credit and exemptions, annual filings with Department of Revenue. Anybody have anything on that? You want to make a motion to accept them?
Yeah, I will move to approve the bulk vote items A through D.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda is new business. Discussion capital projects update, Public Works.
Good evening, Steve Randall, Public Works. Before I get started, when we get down to the South Main Street water, I'm going to skip over that and put it at the end, because we have Jonathan Burke from Stantec who is going to come up and speak to that. So I'm going to run through the rest of them first. First one on our list is from 22, the Mill Street sewer pump station upgrade. Our funding is all set. We got $900,000 voted in back in March. We now have that converted into, extended onto our loan packet for repayment, and we are looking for somewhere around the first week of August to put that out to bid. We have been working to get the pumps squared away, making sure everything is lined up, and we seem to have made headway with that over the last couple weeks.
Mr. Chairman.
Question?
Ms. Murray has a question.
Yeah, has this project been bonded? Has the town put the bond out, or is this one that still needs to be
I was going to
bonded?
ask that.
This has not gone through financing yet, and it is through State Revolving Loan Fund. So if I understand that correctly, we will not see a bond payment until 1 year after completion of the project.
But that hasn't been done yet, so this is still something yet to go on the tax rate
Correct.
at a future time. And as you go down through here, if there are others that aren't, the bonding hasn't been done, would you point those out?
I had 3 questions, now it's only 2. When's it going to be done?
Don't have an answer for that. I can't tell you when it'll be done until I know when it's going to start.
When will you think you'll know when it's going to be done? And that's 1A, that's not my second question.
So in a perfect world, I would say we will know by middle of October-ish.
Just pencil in
We'll
something.
know when we'll have a bid due, and then we can start the clock from there. I want to say it's penciled in for around 400 days, so we're going to look at probably the beginning of 27 before it's done.
Okay, because the reason I ask is, people drive by and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then the second question, which relates to, I think we got some thought leadership from a couple of members of the public that said, is there going to be any treatment around this? And I think you said there was nothing contemplated in your budget to, trees, shrubs, things around the.
For Mill Street or for Lane? That was Laner Street, that discussion.
Well, I think it was for both. I think Suzanne was asking about both.
So
Laner.
Mill Street is a whole different animal. That is that's a still full brick building.
Yeah.
That is not gonna look like that one does. That was a prefabbed, pre-bought, pre-built building
Yeah.
that we just got and plopped down.
Yeah.
So this one is a whole different site project.
So then let's confine it to Laner Street.
Yeah.
There's nothing in your budget for any treatments around that. So, something, if this board or Jim wants to contemplate, or you want to contemplate something, that should show up in a proposal. Not saying you should do it, just telling you that people are asking the question.
We've already started down that path
Got it.
to propose for something for next year's budget.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
The next one up is from 22 as well, that's Laner Street. We did the top coat of paving on that yesterday. And we are looking to fire that up on the 22nd, which I believe is Tuesday. We will fire up on generator power, make sure all the pumps run, everything is running well. Once that is all good, Barry will come in and do full power transfer, because we have to, all new transformers, all new lines, all new everything. So both stations need to be operational on generator power for at least 24 hours. So that will start that process next week. I am hoping by the end of the month,
I was gonna
that will
say,
be,
end of the month, you're
no,
alive.
end of July.
End of month, July.
End of month to be done. That project has gone very well. We are right on the line with budget. It's quality contractor, quality work. It's coming out very well from a functional standpoint. Any questions on Laner Street? Next one from 22 as well, seasonal water lines. We've put in approximately half of the master meter pits that we had proposed earlier in the year. We awarded that contract to 2 different contractors. The second contractor, we're just waiting for them to come in at this point for the next round of 4, which will be the one down off of Pine Street, the one out on 28 before the Boat Museum by the Sunday paving sign, out by the Libby Museum, 3, and then one by Kingswood Golf Club. That one at the golf club was reserved for later in the fall. They've told us we could put it in, but we need to wait till after golf season. Green Street from 23, we have a plan set pretty much done. So that will close out that account, and that will take care of a plan to redo that vintage line that feeds Green Street and that surrounding area. South Main is next. We're going to skip that one for the moment. From 24, we have South Main Street sewer engineering. That design is underway. It's moving somewhat slow. We should have that done hopefully by fall, ahead of budget time to propose for 26 warrant. Highland Terrace, that project is complete. We're just waiting on grass establishment at this point, which being July, we're going to hold probably through till September. Jockey Cove, that is still sitting where it is. The plan is done. We've had no movement. I've had a couple people have called me that are interested in the property and asked a couple questions about it. They have asked if it would be possible to move that culvert if they did buy the property. So I think there's some future discussions in there as far as that would go.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
So I had a conversation with Jim about that specifically, and I came to your office and we talked about that specifically. And Linda had a Waters meeting and we talked about that specifically. Culvert is in an easement.
Yep.
The property line used to be back. The town got an easement to run that culvert. Comes out of that wetland that's on the high side. Mm-hmm. That culvert would go down to the Kerry and disperse out where it is right now. You and I talked about a bigger catch basin area, which would allow for more sediment clean out, a proper system.
Yep.
Where are we with that?
So we're the same place, so the last official, we've had multiple conversations, obviously, you and I, Jim and I, Wolfeboro Waters. The last official act that we had, which was, we did the design and we were standing pat for the time being. So when we want to either move that forward and do something, or my suggestion then was the same as it is now, which is that property is for sale. People are looking to buy it, and most of the questions they ask are, would there be an option to move that culvert? So thus either reassign that easement to get it closer to the road so they have more of a footprint. I think that is the smarter way, because we then can dictate to them what it is they need to do with that culvert. So we could have them put it in and have them do whatever basins we want to do, versus us doing it now, then somebody buying it, coming to the town, wanting to move it.
So the discussion is, it's going to be on the town's property next to the road. We're going to be responsible for that culvert.
Well, we don't have to do it that way. I mean, that's all and depends on how that wants to go. So right now it is in a town easement, we can maintain it. We could move the easement or allow them to petition to move the easement, so then we would still maintain it next to the road, which would be better than halfway in the yard. Or we could dictate that they can move it, they can put it in, and they have to maintain it.
So
That's a
as
little-
far as I'm concerned, the integrity and the quality of the work for the culvert and for the town's responsibility would be for the town to do the work, put the culvert in properly, and ensure that it's properly set up, going to the pit. We shouldn't have homeowners doing work that are going to be, that we're going to be responsible for in the long run.
Well, I wouldn't say homeowners. I would say a contractor, a responsible contractor that would be doing the project. That would be an approval thing. But again, if you all want us to put that in, then we can put that in the program and we can put it in.
That's where I'm headed, Jim. I mean, I'd like it be under our prerogative, our control. We fully understand the work that's happened. There's no question of a doubt. We're maintaining it. We're taking care of it. It's all underneath of our grasp. Yeah, a qualified contractor, whatever it is, but it's going to be on our property.
Yeah, it will be. Linda?
Yeah, I agree with John in terms of a larger catch basin. That was one of the issues that Wolfeboro Waters was having, that it didn't really call for catch basins, and I think that's very important. Whether it's in an easement or closer to the road, the easement gives the town the ability to take care of it, either spot. And I'm comfortable with us looking to see what it is. But I agree. I think the town should be the one who is responsible, takes care of it, and everything else. So,
Dave?
And, man,
No, go ahead. Go on.
so I'm all fine with it taking care of it, and I'm fine with putting it in. I was trying to do it so that we didn't have to put it in, so we don't have to pay to put it in, and have dictate that into that stipulation, because I could be wrong on this, but I don't believe we can go in there and move that easement now to move it closer to the road.
No,
So
I
we're
think-
going to have to go in and put it where it is.
Yes.
And then they're going to come in, and again, they're going to come in and want to move that, so then it's going to do it again.
I'm comfortable with whatever you and Jim think is the best way, either closer to the road or in the easement, and if we can get them to pay for it, okay. Wolfeboro Waters is really interested in the catch basin, and that the culvert is large enough. I think that was the other thing, that they thought that the culvert may not have been large enough to deal with the amount of water. Those are Wolfeboro Waters.
I'm in agreement with all that.
Okay.
My goal is to try to get them to pay for it, honestly. I'm trying to get them to pay for it so that we don't have to pay for that.
Okay.
Paul?
Yeah, thank you. So I've not been part of this, but I appreciate the conversation. So I'm hearing a couple of things. Number one, Mr. Thurston, should the town install the culvert, yes or no? John's advocating the town should install the culvert. Number two, should we do it before or after the movement of an easement? Well, that's a business decision I think Jim and you and others can do, but John's got a bid on the table here that says town should install it, which means we maintain it. And then the third is, it sounded like we were just going to, no disrespect here, we're going to do some culvert work, and the basic, the pit, as John would call it, needs to be resized, rethought, whatever. So the question is, are we going to resize, rethink, redo the pit? Yes or no?
So
And if we are, how much is that going to cost, and we're going to put it in the budget?
I
to do
don't
it?
think we need to redesign that in order to make it work. I think we can take what is there, we can upsize it to a catch basin that is manageable and working. I don't think we need to go back out for engineering for
Okay,
that.
no,
That is well within
and
our
I wasn't
scope to dictate.
suggesting
Yeah,
that
no.
we go out and buy another
So I don't believe that.
$1 million plan,
as
but
far
that's
as-
the three questions I had.
Yeah, planning, we're not gonna need to spend any more money on.
Thank you.
Dave? So my only thing would be, there could be a middle ground too. If we're going to help them by relocating that, they don't want to pay the whole thing, maybe it's a 50-50.
That is that was the wait and see approach when we had talked about this earlier, that was my impression of where we were going, was waiting and seeing what is going to happen with that property, because as we started to talk about that is when it went up for sale. So, and again, I've had a few people call me asking me about this culvert in this situation, because they see the plans, they see there's an easement and what that would entail. And the first question they usually ask is, can that be moved? And I said, well, there's a mechanism for that, but that's not necessarily my wheelhouse. But I would think all of those things would be on the table. Well, okay, we can move this, you gotta pay to put it in, we maintain it. You know, we oversee it, we maintain it, or we pay for half, and, you know, all those things I think would be, to me, from my seat, would all be on the table and to be whatever is the best interest.
Yeah, and we would have specs, so if they put it in, they would meet it to our specifications.
Correct.
So it would, whether we put it in or not, it would go to the same
Correct.
specification.
You know, I mean, culvert placement and everything like that has state specs to it. You know, that's not just a, you know, it's not, you know, JoJo's not gonna just throw a culvert in and call it good. We're not gonna let that happen. It has to be done and done properly, whether it's us or a qualified contractor.
So we did buy extra culvert this after, so we do have culvert, don't we?
Yes.
Yes, we do. So is there a problem with taking it and bringing it up next to the road and then allowing that homeowner to essentially utilize their property and maybe pay money to get their easement land back, and that will be something that would subsidize the cost of installing the culvert?
That's more of a legal
Well,
question.
yeah, I mean,
don't
I
know the
think
answer.
that's really, we're contemplating something that we don't know yet. I mean, we could have somebody coming in, buy the property, and want to change the location of the driveway. They could want to do all kinds of things on the property, which could put us in a weird situation. You know, and I think that's the challenge, is trying to forecast what may happen. And I think that's why we've kind of put this on pause right now, because Steve's spoken to some people that have had interest, and we know something has to happen there, and we want to do it right and be the best plan for the carry, because it is substandard.
So let me get this straight again. So we have a pooling area. We're trying to get from the pooling area to where the catch basin is. I don't think it's going to really matter where their driveway is. Our culvert's just, it's going to go across there anyway. It has to go there. It has to go down the line.
May I? So that pooling area will always have a water in it. This is not going to drain that area. I just want to make sure that.
I get that,
Okay,
yeah.
I just make sure we're on the same page.
But it's basically, if that water pools up and that culvert doesn't carry the water, that water builds up and goes across the road.
Correct.
To Kerry Beach.
Yes, it floods the yard first, long before it hits the road, but
Yeah.
it floods that yard out.
And
Which
again,
is an issue, yes.
and so it's our culvert, so we would be flooding out somebody's yard. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is, we know that it has to go from A to B. It should go up like any other culvert next to any of our other town roads, just off the shoulder, and they go to move their driveway or do whatever they do, they have to go across that someplace or another. That's-
I think I understand what you're trying to say, John. My only question is, I'm not sure that we could run that inside the town right away, which is why the easement would need to be moved. Because gravity is not going to get it as that road comes up higher there. We're not going to be able to get it in the right of way to where we could run it without some sort of something. Because right now, it's in that easement is deeded that way. If that wants to get moved closer to the road to be able to put that culvert in, I think that's where
Okay,
by my understanding, that's where the problem is. We can't just move the easement because we want to move the culvert for them. I think that has to be between the owner and the town has to do that together. And I don't believe the occupants or the owners of the property right now want to get into that. I think they're just trying to sell it and walk
so
away.
it's been for sale for 2 years. It's for like 3.8 million or something like that. I mean, it's something that I think we should be coming up with a plan at least and saying, okay, this is a plan.
You mean like a time limit? Like if it doesn't sell, then we buy like April
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah.
We need to put it in?
Yeah,
I also think that we hired an engineer to give us a plan,
Yeah.
and we are not satisfied with the engineering plans that we received, because it essentially is a replace in kind, which Steve has the ability to do under his purview anyhow. So there is some disappointment from our perspective regarding some engineering that took place.
so we have $9,100 left in that line item. Would that be enough to do engineering?
I don't think we need to redo the engineering.
Okay.
I really don't. I feel more than comfortable within our purview to do this project. If that's what it's deemed, that you want Public Works to replace that, I feel fine doing that.
So that's a
without-
good timetable. If they don't sell the house by April of next year, we need to move on.
And I'm fine with that because we can also plan for that and, however you folks see fit to do that.
Yeah, we do.
We need a motion for that, Brian?
I would say so. We can't just say,
I think
Steve.
so.
One person can't say, Steve, by April, you have to do this, or...
No, I understand. I'm with you.
You have a motion?
No? I don't have a motion.
John does.
I'll make the motion that we get Steve Randall, the Public Works Director, to come up with a conceptual design for the culvert at Jockey Cove between the pooling area and the Kerry for a culvert and a enlarged pit area. If the sale doesn't happen by April of next year, the town will move to finish the project.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Town upgrades.
I
Town roads.
opposed. You only got half.
Oh, all those in favor?
Well, that's two.
Anybody opposed?
Me.
Okay. 3-2. Town road upgrades.
Okay, that's this year's 2025. We have done a shim coat down on Sewell Road. We have reclaimed Point Sewell. We've reclaimed 2 portions of Beach Pond Road. We're actively installing gravel on Point Sewell. We'll be out on Beach Pond next week. We have a crew up on Cowper Road, ditching, doing drainage, and getting ready to gravel that. That was our holdover from last year. Still hoping to do the parking lots here, as well as out there on Center Street. And we should be hopefully paving Point Sewell and Beach Pond in September. That 3,500 feet of Beach Pond, to be clarified, from the Ossipee town line, 3,500 feet this way.
Question?
Yep.
So is the chip sealing on Middleton Road in this budget as well?
Thank you. I forgot to put that on my notes.
And
Yes.
what about the access road into Albany?
That is not in this. That's just in a maintenance line.
It's on the maintenance line.
It's just in
But
my-
the chip sealing of Middleton Road, which is a big
Yes, that was.
chunk of stuff.
Yep, that's preservation. That was in the warrant article, and that we'll see that each year going forward.
Thank you.
Yep. River Street Water Main and Rebuild, that plan set is all done. We're going to bid that in the fall for spring work. We reached out to some contractors. By the time votes and everything came through, everybody was pretty well booked. So we're going to try to work to change this model a little bit. I want to propose projects, we put them to vote, and then we bid them throughout the spring and the fall for the following year's work. Because as it's been working, we've been starting projects. We put them out to bid based on town approval for voting. So we're getting numbers, but I don't think we get great numbers because they're basically based on speculation. I can't guarantee we're going to do it. So they give us a placeholder number. They come in the fall, they start it or get it 3/4 of the way done. They need to come back in the spring and finish it anyway. So what we're shifting to try to do, and River Street is a good example, is so we get town approval in March. We're going to put that out to bid here the next month or two for spring of 26, right? 26 work. We'll put a time frame of 12 weeks on it. So by the time they start it, they have 12 weeks to finish it, and then it's done. Instead of this holdover throughout the course of the winters and then remobilization in the spring for cleanup, and then we do it that way. That's going to allow me to set up these projects and give us a little bit of a reach for them. So instead of trying to propose it, bid it, do it all in that same year, it's going to give us a little bit of time, give us some contractors that can then look to 26 to bid work. I think we'll get a little bit better pricing because we're not quite so trying to get them fit in the last time we already booked. Any questions with that? I know that's a little bit different than the way it's been done, but I think it's going to work better for us.
Might as well try it. What do we have to
Well,
lose?
in this year, we don't really have much choice because
Yes,
nobody wanted to do
Might as well
it.
try it. See how it works.
It's a lot better than staring at it, admiring it, just try it.
The next one from 25, warrant article 23, was the evaluation and repair of the other sewer pump stations. So that RFQ went out. We had those due back on August 4th. And at that time, we will pick an engineering outfit to start to do these evals based on budgets. I don't expect to get an evaluation on 5 of them for the money we have. We're going to take and pick the worst ones and start from there. So that the goal is we get an eval, then I can propose a budget number so that we can start to put money away or to plan going forward to replace the next station in line. I don't plan on trying to replace another one until Mill Street is complete, but I want to start this process in advance. This also is giving us money to fix things when they break. For example, our control panel down on Elm Street died on Monday, and that's an $8,000 bill. You know, that's not things that are planned for. So this is allowing us some of that ability to fix these stations as they continually break and still plan for the future. The pressure relief valve at the vault tower, that project is also out for bid right now. Those bids will be due on August 4th as well. And that is just to replace that globe valve in the vault up at the water tower. That was originally a concept part of the water treatment plant project when that was conceived back in 20 or 21, and that got removed early on due to budgets. So we tried to put it in last year, we couldn't get it, we got it in for this year, so. Then we have a couple other things I put on here. We were asked to do a build-out and capacity study. Underwood has that underway. I did include in your packet their contracts in case you were just curious on what the scope and things like that are, but this is what they will be doing. They started it back middle of May. It's going to probably take us through the fall before we have those numbers back.
Right. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
is this one of your favorite topics?
Yes, it is, and I did see the contract, even though it was stapled to something else.
So, I don't want to belabor this. How many of these have we done in our lifetime? Several?
Capacity studies? Yeah, we've done.
How many of these have we rejected because we didn't like the data we got back?
I think the last capacity study, the issue was, and what we were finding, that we did only the lots on the road and behind are being developed, so we wanted the road, and now we need the backland to really understand in that area where there's either sewer or sewer and water, what the capacity is if we fully develop that and whether we had the ability. And it was to help the planning board in its work, and they've asked us that for about 2 years.
Right, and the planning board has asked for it, and we've put it on our work plan, and this isn't meant to be critical. It's meant to just make an observation, and I'm not pointing at you because you were here before we ran this paper route. We've done this a couple of times, and we have this occasional ability to debate data. It's wrong information. We should have, and I'd like to ask, and I don't know the mechanism to do it for the town manager. I'd like to ask, before we ink a piece of paper with Underwood or whomever we do it with, that we are as clear as we can be without becoming super professionals, which we're not, and super partisan, which we're not. I'd like to make sure that when we write a contract for $15, $100, $200,000 for a capacity study on water and sewer, that we don't debate the data when it comes back, which means we have to plan properly up front, which is going to get to the next one, the I&I assessment thing too. I want to make sure we don't just, because we have studies of things. We study a lot. We study it, and we don't do anything because it was wrong. So I want to make, I don't know how to do it, so I'm putting you guys on the spot here, but I want to make sure that you look us steely-eyed and say, are you sure you've got all your questions answered before I start spending money?
Well, may I?
Go ahead.
She's already poked you on this one?
No, these are here for your information only. These are not here for you to sign. I signed these 2 months ago, and the work is underway. This is paid for out of my operating budget based on requests that were made. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and those are conversations that we have already had. What this is going to do is this is going to tell you it doesn't matter what lot is where. It's going to tell you that water won't go there. So whether it's zoned for it or not for it or whatever it is, this one is going to say, I can't tell you what the other ones have said over the last 20 years that have been done. I didn't bother to look at them because we wanted an updated one that does more along the lines of what you say. So this should get there.
I know that my colleague has I just want to finish. I just really don't want to have a we debate the data conversation.
So
that to me is, I won't use bad words. That to me is not a good use of taxpayer money, and it's dumb.
I agree.
Okay?
Nope, I agree.
Thank you.
So I hope that when we get data, we have data that we can rely on.
Right.
But I will say, with the governor now signing all the zoning mandates that are in place, we now have lost a lot of local control on zoning, and that loss of local control on zoning could put an incredible stress on our sewer capacity and our water capacity, mostly our sewer capacity. So data that we can get that helps us is going to be very important going forward. I agree with you, it needs to be good data, but we have to make sure that we get the data.
Linda?
Yeah, I want to clarify for Paul. The data we got at the time that we did that capacity study was probably about 15 years ago, and it helped us look at projects we were going to do at the wastewater treatment and at the spray fields. It wasn't bad data, we just are at a different time, and more of the backland is starting to be developed. So it's different.
So for
And
the sake of the
sometimes you
conversation, I'll say
go,
that was then.
huh?
That was then.
That's right.
This
So
is now.
Yes, so it wasn't, I'm arguing that it wasn't bad data and we didn't argue the data, we used it at that time. The data doesn't work now.
It's now old data.
Correct, old data, I like
It's old
that.
data that needs to be updated.
Correct.
Okay, moving right along.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question about the I&I assessment? What's the objective of what you're trying to get there, Steve?
So it's very similar. So we want to do a capacity study. We want to know where our sewer can go. My concern is it's fantastic to say that our plant can handle X, so we can go out there. My concern is the stuff between out there and the plant is the problem. So we can't expand if we can't maintain.
So would you, and I don't know what our schedule is going to be, Mr. Town Manager, for next year. You know, the stuff that I read tells me that for every gallon that you can save not going into the plant or coming out of the plant, you're in better shape financially.
Correct.
Look over at our friend Sam here. And one of the questions we had as we looked at our rates for water and sewer is the real question about how do we get operating leverage into the system. Spending $5,000 to figure out how we could get operating leverage is a smart thing to do, as long as the data is specific and as long as we act on it and not admire it.
So in order for me to stand up here and ask you, I need X amount of millions of dollars to fix this, I need to have this to show you that this is what we are losing, this is where the problems are, this is what I need.
So put another way, he's asking us to spend $5,000 so he can come back and ask us for a couple of million.
Yeah, and we had those contracts, they were in our packet, and
That's fine.
I really support us going out and finding out about that I&I and look at what we have done and where we need to go. I thought it was a good thing that he had gotten us.
But then we complete the play, and then we have a conversation around rate setting time as to how the ratepayer and the taxpayer deal with that cost.
Well, that's a whole nother question.
No, I understand. We complete the
Okay.
play, though, because somebody's got to pick up the tab. Got it.
For a future.
Wait,
For a future meeting.
yeah, and this study isn't going to tell us how we're going to divide it between the taxpayer, so.
This is going to tell us where the leaks are.
It's going to help us define where the leaks are, so then
Correct.
we can make
That's-
sure that we focus our money and our work where it is going to have the most bang for our buck.
Correct.
The next one I put on there was just an update to the tree removal and replacement capital reserve. There stands currently just over $66,000 in that account. Public Works is going to be partnering with MED to remove some more trees this fall. We're working on that plan now to give a list of roads. So when I come and ask for the money, I can tell you where we are going to spend it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, are you going to have it equally between what you're taking out and what you're going to put in?
So-
Because I think we're real good at taking them out. I don't think we're as good at getting them planted, and so I would like that in that report.
Yep, Parks and Recs spent about $20,000, I want to say, this spring planting trees, and that they will be part of the conversation as well to see if they have any fall planting plans, so that when we do this, that will all be in one shot.
The chairman stepped away for a minute. I feel like Alexander Haig. I'm in charge. He's asked me to run the meeting here for a
So
minute.
the last one will just be a recap, and then I'm going to touch upon it, and again, in a minute anyway. And that's just the sewer treatment capital reserve fund. Currently, there is a misprint on your spreadsheet that is different than your memo that I'm going to speak to next. So I just want to get that number correct. There is currently $350,847 in there, and we are looking to spend $252 and change this year on various projects that I will, as I said, I will touch upon once we are done this phase.
Thank you.
Now,
Questions?
back up to the top, the South Main water main replacement. Jonathan, would you like to come up?
Thank you, Steve.
I'll be back.
I know.
Hi there. Do you want me to wait till Dave gets back?
No, please
Keep
proceed.
going. I'm Jonathan with Stantec. I know Jim and Brian are new faces for me in town. Steve has asked me to put together a quick presentation on history of that project, what's gone on, a couple issues, what we can move forward. My stuff is kind of lengthy. If I'm going over stuff that you don't want to hear, just please let me know. So at Stantec, we started by applying for some federal funding for the project. We designed it, permitted it, we oversaw the construction. We're about 99% done right now. We're going to hold about $5,000 back from Dawson's to come back in the fall and absolutely make sure that all the turf establishment is good and ready. They were not able to get turf to grow in June and July. Unfortunately, we had a really wet spring, a really cold and wet spring, and then a really hot month of June. So Steve asked me to talk about completion dates, and we originally talked about, the original contract date was June 6th. We extended the project about 12 days to June 18th. A couple reasons for that were we ran into some unidentified infrastructure in the ground downtown. Wolfeboro is a really old community. A lot of your infrastructure down there, there's no records. We did add some work to Dawson's contract. We added some gravel. We ran into some areas that had some really saturated soil right out here in front of Town Hall, so we chased that for about 3 or 4 days. In the grand scheme of things, the project was 160 working days when we originally put it out to bid. Then it ended up being 172, so take that as you will. It's about a 10% increase in allowable time for them to work. Additionally, the weather this spring, we had, 12 or 13 Saturdays in a row that those guys couldn't work. They wanted to work. They attempted to work a couple Saturdays. They tried to pave in the rain. We determined that paving was deficient. Can't get it done. They had to redo that. The project as a whole, we all drove downtown. We all know what the patches look like. Left a little bit to be desired. State of New Hampshire came in November and said they are not going to be plowing or maintaining that roadway. You guys being a white line community, that means that they did not take care of 1,800 feet in both directions as far as plowing and treating. So Steve and I are working on resolving those costs with Dawson's as we speak. When I said earlier we're about 99% done, those are the issues that we're working with Dawson's to resolve right now. The other part was some of the known issues and some of the complaints that we got from the public. I'd like to shed some light on those. We had a few complaints about the night work, most notably the Brewster properties and the Pickering house. Understandably, working in front of an inn and where children are staying, and we understand. Unfortunately, when we had the public stakeholder meetings prior to the construction, we talked about all this, and the town determined that that was probably in the best interest to alleviate some of the major intersection work. For instance, Pickering Corner, Union Street, Central, Railroad. Those are major intersections that see plenty of cars a day. Dawson's did work 6 24-hour shifts in the duration of last fall from September to December. Those days were not fun for us. They weren't fun for anybody in town. We elected to choose those days to try to reduce the impact to the businesses, the traffic, and all the other residents there. A couple other items to note. We've had a few comments about the granite curbing, the aesthetics of that. Unfortunately, a lot of the curbing is not upright, it's not vertical. Some of it's slanted this way, some of it's slanted that way, some of it has a 2-inch reveal, some of it has a 9-inch reveal. We have to match into that, and when you're only patching 8 or 9 feet for a trench, you're at the mercy of that. A lot of that curb is older, it's tilted in the wrong direction, which creates drainage issues. We did our best to alleviate that and make it look as presentable as we can until the next stage of that project comes through. Most notably, we all knew that a downtown area is not an ideal area to do infrastructure. Given the amount of tourists and everybody coming into town, it's your day-to-day productivity is going to be slowed down by a factor of at least 25%. That's just the nature of doing work in a very, very busy street. Traffic was another major complaint that we got. Moving forward, Steve and I and the board, we've had discussions about potentially asking about mandating mandatory night work for instance, if we were to move forward with a sewer project in the same work limit. It's something that we're willing to talk about, but we think the group as a whole and involve the public in that, and that we'll get to on the, as Steve said, we're working on the design for that sewer project, so I'm sure we'll be giving a few presentations on that and public stakeholder meetings on that as well. I had a few complaints about the detour route. We talked about it. There's really no adequate detour route besides Wambeck, and the business owners don't want to hear that we're telling people to detour around their businesses either. So there's a two-sided sword there, unfortunately. We're not going to keep everybody happy, but we did talk about it. We did present it in a public stakeholder meeting. Unfortunately, it's just, that's the nature of Wolfeboro. There's kind of two ways in, two ways out, and not a whole lot that we could do about that. I met with the Economic Development Committee earlier this week. We talked about communication, how the communication to the public could be better. Linda and Brian and I attended that meeting. We're going to work on a couple other ideas moving forward, and potential an email distribution list or something like that. We are posting, we did 11 construction updates on the town website. They were posted in right outside the front door and the back door of Town Hall. My cell phone was posted on the project board right out in front of Town Hall. I didn't get a whole lot of calls. I talked to Peter at the Pickering House quite a bit. I talked to Susan and Peter over at Brewster quite a bit, and a few other in Blacks. I was talking to them quite a bit downtown, but we had 3 portable changeable message signs in all 3 directions in and out of the work zone. We tried to put pertinent data on that and give the people that, for instance, when we were going to be doing night work or something like that, but overall it's just a general warning that you are coming into a work zone. As you all know, the parking spaces have been a major topic in town. Unfortunately, I had a lot of people come up to me, and when we were doing some of the striping, that just so happened to coincide when the parking spots were taken. Dawson's got blamed for that, and Stantec got blamed for that, and everybody under the sun got blamed for that. So I figured I'd set the record straight that, you know, people were asking why we were blacking out the parking signs when we went down there. So just doing what we were told. Financially, the silver lining is that the project is approximately $450,000 under budget. The original engineer's estimate was about $2.44 million. Dawson's was the low bidder. They came in at $2.46 million. We added about $49,000 in change orders to the project. As of right now, the construction cost for the project is around $2 million. Steve and I are working to resolve turf establishment issues and the winter maintenance issues, and we'll be making our second to last payment hopefully here in the next week or 2. Steve asked me to talk about how we saved money on the project. We didn't take out any work. The only work that we did remove out of the contract was a service to Brewster. We found out that was an 8-inch ductile iron pipe. That pipe was in good condition. There's no reason to replace it. So that saved a big chunk. The other one was dewatering. With this project, New Hampshire DES and the permitting agencies mandated that we include a specific form of dewatering because of the old gas stations at Pickering Corner and the old gas station here. There's a leak. There used to be an old leaking underground storage tank down by Bradley's. So what they do is mandate dewatering. We put it in the bid schedule for daily cost. So if they dewater, even if they dewater for 1 hour, they get paid for dewatering for the whole day. Dawson's bid that at $2,000 a day, and we only had to dewater for 32 days instead of 160. So that was out of the 450 that we were under budget. That one specific line item was 256. We took some money from the lead service line inventory as a part of this project as a grant. We anticipated about 25 services would have lead in them. Only 5 did, so we saved about $40,000 on that too. So round numbers there, that's about $300,000. We saved around 400. 400 is the remaining 100,000 is basically the engineering estimates rounding. That's about your 5% rounding. So we are going to consume all the construction engineering budget, which is Stantec's time. We did have some extra time dealing with certain situations and a lot of night work that we weren't anticipating and stuff like that. So overall, like we said, the project will be under budget. Talking about the proportional share of the project, as of right now, it seems like it's a 60-40 split. It's about 62-38, with the feds paying 62. So in my mind, that's still a good number that the town, the proportion of that town that was burdened on the town was 40, about 38%. Lessons learned on the job. We allowed the contractor every Friday to temporarily pave. That, in our mind, would give them more efficiency, more productivity, instead of paving every night and stopping, because paving does take a while. You have to prep your gravel, you have to pave, you have to resaw cut, all that fun stuff. That really, really deters production. When you have a trench open, you want to keep moving. Moving forward, we saw what we everybody saw what was out there as far as the condition of the temporary pavement. We had settlement, we had humps, we had dips, we had exposed edges, we had, unfortunately, people trip. So that decision moving forward as a whole, we're going to identify if we're going to allow that on the next project. But like we said, Steve and I and the board and everybody in town, we'd like to have a discussion on that. Other than that, that's pretty much everything I had. Does anybody have any questions?
You have a question, John?
I
Yes,
do. So I talked to Steve about the curbing.
Yep.
So in our beautiful old downtown, we had nice, really old curbing. And a lot of these places, they took out the old curbing, they put in new stuff. Not only they put the new stuff in, they didn't match it up to the elevation. I've got a whole set of pictures. I walked the whole thing. If there's money left over, the curbing should be redone. I'll be honest with you. I do that work. I saw what they were doing. They had huge loaders when they should have had a small machine. They were rushing through it. They weren't preparing the base. Once they got the stuff in there, it settled right out. There's safety areas where, up next to the school here, I mean, you got kids getting out of the cars and vehicles. You got one that's up here, the next one's down 2 inches. That's really, it's the aesthetics.
Agreed.
It's what makes our town. It's what people see because they're walking down the street. It's the first thing that they see. It's really, it was so disheartening, and it's disheartening right now to have to talk about it because I don't really want to be critical. I know it was a lot of work out there, but somebody that myself prides in quality,
Of course.
and they had so many people down there. I was down there many a days. I saw 5 guys standing doing whatever. Maybe they were working twice as hard on the days when they were working, but do you see what I'm saying?
I
It's like it just didn't quite make sense. So I think what I'm gonna ask for is I would volunteer to go down there, take another walk with you, identify these curbing spots, and we can address them, make them right. They could find some old curbing and put the stuff back in that's at least gonna match, because it's not gonna, I mean, you've got old curbing and then you've got a piece of sawn stuff looks ridiculous.
Agreed.
So I'll set my contact up with Jim, and
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I gotta agree with John. I think it's important that that curbing look nice, look old where it should be, and it's even as best we can get it. So I support you in that.
Me as well.
So I support John, and I think that we should take care of safety where there's trip hazards and things like that. My question is, we're going to be ripping it back up again. The next time that it's ripped up, are we going to be able to make sure that the repairs we
Might
do
not be in
this
the
time
same places.
are back in place again the next time? Or are we going to be chasing this the next time and then the next time? Because we got 2 more sections to do, sewer and wastewater. So that's my question.
I think it's a fair question, too. But again, I think...
Well, yeah, it's not going to be the same places, though,
Yes, most of them are.
because the
Yeah.
sewer lines come out different than the water lines, so,
The
No,
old-
he just said they're going to be the same places.
yeah.
Most will be in the same trench. In the olden days, you installed water and sewer in the same trench. Now you need 10 feet of separation, unfortunately. I would guess the majority, 7 or 8 out of 10, are going to be in the same exact trench.
But we can have them keep the old. I think that's part of it. We had correct curbing there. Am I correct, John?
We did, but I talked to Steve, and they loaded it in that truck, it disappeared, it's not,
But we could put that in the contract for the next time if we did this, that the curbing had to go back that was there.
I think that's implied, honestly.
Yeah. Steve and I had.
I think it's a simple principle.
Yeah.
Did we get what we paid for? And if that's what we paid for, then that's what we got. But I would suggest, because I've walked it too, we didn't get what we paid for. That'd be my observation. But we always seem to have enough money to do it right the second time. You ever notice that? And I don't think that's a good idea either. So I support what John. If you want to take a walk, John, great.
Me too.
Yeah.
I can come up as early as next week.
All right.
Thank you.
Should,
Okay.
One point of clarification, Jonathan, if you could make it for me. I assume New Hampshire DOT has signed off on this,
No.
and they will be plowing this winter?
We have not done our final walkthrough yet. We're tentatively scheduling that for next week or the following.
So there is a possibility that the town could have to be plowing this in 2025, 2026.
I would guess that's an extremely slim possibility.
Okay, thank you.
can you schedule your meeting with DOT to have someone walk with you at the same time?
When you say someone for the select board?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I want me to invite everybody, and I'll let you guys choose if who wants to come.
I wouldn't mind it being in on-premise meeting.
When we get that date finalized, I'll send it to Jim. He can dispense it to you guys. We'll give you the date and the time, and then whoever shows up.
I just need 24 hours for noticing.
Yep,
All right.
yep, sounds good.
Okay. Next on our, do you have anything else to follow up?
Nope.
So
Okay.
what are the timetable for the other projects? Just,
Sewer.
Yeah.
Sewer's our next one. We are about 75% through the design, then we have to work on permitting. One of the major points of contention, not to bore you with the details, is the bridge, the sewer under the bridge. We were unable to get a camera through there. We were unable to get a camera through there and get it out of the sewage to see what the condition of the pipe is. Unfortunately, trying to dewater that, we think that the lake could potentially be leaking into the pipe.
so
Oh, great.
what's the timeframe? What prospective date that you might be starting?
Permitting probably will take 6 to 8 months once we put a permitting set of plans together. Where, like I said, we're about 75% done in the design. Permitting on this particular job through all the regulatory agencies. We have to do a complete environmental review, which is Heritage Commission, Fish and Game. There's 10 or 12 different committees on that look at those permits. That last time, I believe, took 7.5 months for the water, which will be almost identical for the sewer.
So, John, this will be coming before you for the 26 warrant. We had conversations on it for 25. We pulled it for what he just said. So it's 75% as they continue to work on that, I'm going to put it through for vote for 26 so that in a perfect world, we can start to do some of that work in the fall, and then the fall of 26, and then get it back into 27 for completion. That answers your question.
It's also,
It's a long time.
Yeah,
These,
and-
these, yeah.
it's
how we-
also,
so
it's
how we-
also,
So with the bidding process again, so how are we going to, because there was other contractors, again, we kind of got in a position where we had to take a certain contractor that was doing the
Lowest
work.
responsive bidder on these projects. It's lowest responsive bidder. So we have,
Federal funds.
we have, it's low bid. We have very little control over that going forward. There has to be a reason why you disqualify somebody.
Would this be a good example that the length of duration and the quality that we just went through, would that be a factor for deciding next time? I mean, again, it's possible that we could have gotten all that done in the fall and then
Well,
with a,
as Jonathan had stated, the duration of the contract was only over by 12 days from the original project. So, and those were justifiable days. So the duration of what that took, as much as it may have been uncomfortable for everybody in town, that was the timeline within reason of what had been proposed way back before the start. So what seemed like it dragged on, maybe because of certain things, but overall, within 12 days, over a 1.5-year project is not bad.
I can appreciate that.
You know,
Thank you.
so, and then to answer your, going forward, we put it out to bid, we see who comes in, and we make determinations at that point. I'm not prepared to make anything like that, because I have no idea who's gonna bid on anything.
All set, thank you.
this is also going to be dependent upon what kind of grants and monies we get on this.
Correct.
And we're nowhere near knowing where that's going to be at this point.
We applied for additional SRF funding about a month ago. 2 years ago, we were about 56th on the list. Last year, we were 19th, so we're moving up the list. Hoping that whoever's reviewing that, now that we have a set of contract documents, hopefully that will move us up the list. That when the grant funds came out, the ARA money and then the ARPA money, they love shovel-ready projects. So if we have a set of plans on the shelf, we think that that'll increase our chances of obtaining federally funded.
Yeah, thank you.
Federal funds, excuse me.
Linda?
Yeah, will we know where we are on that list when we do a warrant article? Because that'll,
You should, yes.
Those
Okay.
usually come out in September.
Exactly.
September, we should
Yep.
get that? Okay, thank you.
That's good.
So we actually, at that point, if we're still too low on the list, maybe we have the same conversation we did last year, and we actually don't even put it to warrant this year. We have to kick it another year. You know, all of this has been contingent upon the grant, the preliminary award that we got for the grant for the Complete Streets Drainage Project. That has been held up too with everything that happens in the grand scheme of the world. So
Yep.
everything has kind of slowed down a little bit, and maybe that's a good thing because it's allowing us to play catch up a little bit on some other things. We just kind of have to play that time frame as it comes.
So we'll know in September. That was all I was trying to get, whether we know enough time to filter it in on what we did.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wastewater treatment plant, capital reserve.
I'm gonna find my notes. Okay, so we are looking to just access that capital reserve fund for the plant. We have a balance in there of about $350, $847 right now. We're looking to spend $252,500 this coming year. And included in that, we have some electrical upgrades for replacing one of the rib pumps, some aeration blower valves, prelim design for the catwalk up at the lagoon, mowing, and tree cutting at one of the spray lines, rebuilding another rib pump, and then the plant upgrade evaluation that was part of the presentation that they gave back in November. That seemed to be very well received. I did put a copy of that scope in with your packet, and what it is they're looking to do that assessment. So they're going to review and process all the flow and loads that come through, do a full system condition assessment, analysis, and report the alternatives, recommendations, cost estimate, and then any meetings and things. That's where that 77.5 comes into play for that evaluation. That should help get us to know whether or not we need a new plant, or we can just keep upgrading and retrofitting the one that we have.
Linda?
Yes, my only question here is the cutting on the spray fields, and I thought this was for the treatment plant itself, and I didn't have time to look up the warrant article, and I sent that question to you, Jim, and I never heard back.
Yeah, you did send it to me, and I haven't gotten to it either. I'm seeing if I can pull it up now.
So it is my understanding that would be for plant, yeah.
Spray line cutting in the fall, you talked about trees and,
It's at the irrigation field. It'd be I look at it just like the catwalk at the lagoon site. So that is all an extension to me in the same thing with the rib area. That would be an extension of the plant.
it used to be just for the plant itself, so I want to see what that warrant article said, and I had asked this question earlier, because I was hoping we'd have the answer.
I think we parsed it, the plant and its operation, and then the spray fields, because that's the way we budgeted.
I think it was the plant, and then there was a fluent disposal, which
Right.
would have done the spray fields and the RIBs, and I'm not quite sure how that was written. That's why I'm trying to,
I agree.
I don't mind doing it, I just don't know whether it can come out of here. That's all my thing.
Well, we may not get an answer tonight, but
No, but I think, Linda, you wouldn't object to saying, okay, subject to making sure that those funds can be
Right.
withdrawn.
Can
from
be
that fund.
expended.
I can handle that.
We can handle it.
We can.
we're looking for a motion to do this?
Yes,
Yes.
Is that what we're
please.
looking for?
Yes.
We
I
need
would
one
like
to expend the funds out of that. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow the Public Works Department to take up to $52,500 out of the capital reserve after they have verified that the spray irrigation and the catwalk fit within the definition of that capital reserve fund.
Second.
Okay,
Do you want to clarify that? You said 2,050.
$252,500.
$252,500.
Thank you.
252,500.
It's right here.
00.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, next line item transfer. Who's doing that one? Sam?
Good evening. We have prepared a line item transfer for the Public Works admin salaries and associated expenses. As you can see from the last few actual versus budget reports, that department has kind of been upside down. Because we were in the default budget, we're back to 2023 budget line items. And in '23, our Public Works Director was spread over 4 different departments within the general fund. Highway being 50%, garage being 10%, buildings and grounds being 5%, and solid waste 35%. One of your prior approved line item transfers that we brought to you the funds that had been in there had been set aside for a portion of the town engineer position, and we had pulled those in that long list of line item transfers, and that went to help fund the assistant town manager position. So what we're looking to do is move those pieces from the 4 departments over to the Public Works Administration salaries, as that is where the Public Works Director is paid out of. The other position, the Operations Manager, is also paid from the Public Works Administration Department. Again, back in 2023, that individual was funded from the Highway Department. So again, we're looking to move that piece over to the Administration Department. There is a difference. Again, 2 years ago, salaries were lower. We're looking to pull the difference needed from the household hazardous waste line of the solid waste budget. And by doing so, that would bring the salaries and the taxes and the retirement in line to cover the Public Works Director and the Operations Manager position for 2025.
Mr. Chairman?
Paul?
Yeah. So just to, for my mind, so revenue neutral, no effect on town revenues.
No.
Expense neutral, no effect on town expenses. It's just simply an administrative cleanup.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for doing it. It will make it a lot easier to evaluate how those departments are doing.
Yeah.
And also, I want people to understand, this shows an example of how in a default budget, we have to move monies in order to fund things, and to keep operating correctly. Because if we can't fund our head of our Department of Public Works, then we're in trouble.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to approve this?
Move to approve it.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for that,
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the expenditures and revenues.
Okay, so tonight I am going over June's actual versus budget report. Through June, we are already halfway through 2025. So this report reflects 50% of the budget year. That being said, the operating budget for the general fund, we've expended 46%, water fund 46%, electric fund 52%, sewer fund 58%, and Pop Whalen is at 64%. On the revenue side of things, the general fund has collected 48%, water fund 61%, electric 49%, sewer 46%, and Pop Whalen 53%. Also included in your packet for supporting documents is an updated donation reconciliation, capital reserve fund planning document, and the gas and diesel allocation costs. In the last couple weeks, the topic of the Libby Dock Fund came up. Looking into that, it wasn't hard to find because the way it's currently set up, it's a balance sheet account. It's part of our kind of reserved fund balance. So it's not reflected in any of the monthly reports that I present to you. And just clarifying the balance, I reached out to the auditors, and he actually suggested if this is going to be an ongoing project for the next few years or beyond, that he suggests that we do open up a revolving fund for that. That way, it's just clearer and we don't have to wait until the end of the year for an auditor's adjusting entry to be made to that reserve fund balance. And it would be more visual. It would be in these monthly reports.
Question, Dave?
Paul?
Just for clarification, so when the fund was created, we just parked money on the balance sheet, cleaned it out at the end of the year?
Yeah, we collect revenues throughout the year, and then at the end,
put it up in the balance sheet and then took it out?
the auditors do a journal entry.
Do you need a motion to make that a revolving fund, or should we do that when we get the audit?
He also said revolving funds would have to be established at town meeting,
Okay?
so it would be a little bit of a process. I just wanted to kind of put that out there now.
Yeah, reason I asked, I was trying to get an idea of how much was in that fund, and I think you have that figure, so.
I do. As of the end of 2024, it's at 36,000.
30 grand, yeah.
And we've had two, so we had six, so we had 42. Just wanted us to, as we've been talking about docs, that we understand what we have, and thank you for finding
Yeah.
that for me.
Yeah, no problem.
So, not to drop it on the floor and leave it there, this should be maybe a pickup item when we talk about warrant articles, right? Because this has to
Yes,
go to
it
town
is.
meeting. So we might want to
Yes.
ask the person who just went to the bathroom.
Well, I think our secretary notes it
Yeah,
as keeping
just
it,
do
and then
that.
I think Amy does. The two of them are keeping a list of them, so this is one we need to add to that.
Yeah.
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one more. I'm concerned about some of the legal expenses. I know we have been without a town planner. We have two boards. We really don't have any control over them, but we have one of the two boards who are spending way over what we had allocated for legal, and I'm hoping that when we get a town planner, we can get that back and we don't have to use legal expenses much for that. But
Is there anything we can do between now and then, you don't think, huh?
we don't have control
Kind of
over
an
it.
admonition?
It's
We don't
just
have
saying-
control.
We don't have control. I just want to point it out that is really has the potential as we go forward to really eat into our legal expenses. And if we can do the town planner, we're better off.
Mr. Chairman? Dave?
Any other, Paul?
So, Sam, thank you for this again. 77 pages, and I didn't go through them all. Anything in these 77 pages that jumps off the page, that, not including Linda's comment about the legal stuff, is there anything that's popping off the page that's causing you heartburn?
No, like I said, we're keeping a close eye on legal. We're keeping a close eye on IT services, again, to the default budget. That department took over a $71,000 cut from the proposed to the default. So that one, as you'll notice, is over budget right now.
And I know that you can't, you shouldn't, you probably would resist forecasting an end of year on an enterprise fund. But I'm looking at a 77% expense on an enterprise fund and a 64% or 53% on revenue. Revenues will pick up for this enterprise fund in September, October, November, December, but expenses will also pick up at an asymptotic rate. Should we, and maybe this is for Brian to come back and help us, because I think he is doing a phenomenal job, but this will be that 4 years that we have missed the business plan, prospectively, of course. We need to understand, I think, a little more about what we need to do here. I think he's done a great job on the winter stuff. He's trying like hell on the summer stuff, but we're 4 years out of the starting gates, but that we're not going to break even on this. And I don't know what to Linda's point about legal expense. I don't know what to do about it, but it's staring me in the face. And it looks at this, and I didn't go back to last year's, but this looks like a bigger expense to revenue ratio than we were at last year's
I'd
time.
have to look back at last year.
I'm not asking you to do that, but it looks like it's just the expenses are kind of bigger to the revenues. And I know Brian's doing a good job. I'm not, no way, shape in hell am I suggesting anything other than that. Okay,
And I
thank
think
you.
he's hoping to put the ice in, is it August?
August.
To generate more
Yes,
revenue.
yes.
Right.
15 revenue, 12 expense, something like that?
I think we profit about 8.
All right, so whatever the spread
Or
is, so
more.
we pick up,
Yeah,
Or more.
if that was what he could see from
So we get
there,
a bit of a pickup, but again, the expenses are just moving in a, progressively in the wrong direction against the revenues. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Sam? Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Welcome.
Okay, next on our agenda is the sidewalk ordinance.
So, last meeting, the sidewalk ordinance came in front of you as written by the ad hoc committee. There was some back and forth that took place. In front of you this evening, you have an updated document. One of the big glaring issues that was needed to be addressed within it was related to signage. We have a zoning ordinance relative to signage, and it seemed to make sense to tie that zoning ordinance into the language. So that is in there for your consideration. This is scheduled to go to public hearing at the end of August, I believe.
Brian?
So I had two pieces. One piece is, I think under signs, we should just reference the Article 6, General Provision, Section 175-44, Signs G. I don't think we should include it in the language of this sidewalk ordinance, because if that ordinance changes, then we end up with one written here that is different than the other one written there unless we update. So if we just reference that signage ordinance, then if it changes, it's automatically changed in here. It kind of makes it a little more seamless. So that would be the first thing that I would like. The second thing is, and I'm taking a piece from John, we changed the wordage to say minimum width. Well, I looked at our ordinance and we have it written in 3 different places, 3 different ways. So I would like to propose that wherever we list the width of the sidewalk, that we say that the town's minimum standard clear width of 50 inches. And why I'm saying clear, John, is because that's the ADA term that is kind of universal when they say width of a sidewalk or a walkway. So I love width because that comes from the ADA passage too. But I would say that because we have it in 140.14, it's written one way, and then it's written a separate way in 140.17. So I think that those two should just mirror each other and say the town's minimum standard clear width of 50 inches or something to that effect.
I'll make that a motion.
I'd like to discuss that for a second. So that basically,
Well, we
Wait a minute,
motion
wait a minute.
and he gets a second, and then you can do.
I'll second it.
Yep. Go ahead.
so we had talked about the 5 feet, which is 60 inches. So basically what we're doing is we're shrinking our,
No, we were always at 50 inches.
Wait.
so I thought it was 5 feet, which was 60 inches, because you asked me how wide the walkway was for the ADA ramp, and I said it was 5 feet wide. So that's why I'm saying that, because you asked me that specific question, what my ADA ramp was. It was 5 feet wide. So, and then when we go down there to the sidewalks, if we've shrunk it to 52 inches, that means you got 2 people that are my width. I'm already 24 inches wide. So it's like you got 2. You're reducing the ability for the pedestrians to have a standard quality width, because people are going to fill them up. We already know what's going on down there. People are putting tables and chairs, and they're, crouching out a little bit further, and whatever the ordinance allows, again, they can allow that. But again, I'd like to stay with the 5 feet width myself.
Linda?
Well,
Oh, wait a minute.
the walking distance, we had this discussion last time. The walking distance that we were talking about was 5 feet wide on the crosswalks. On the sidewalks, excuse me. Okay, go ahead.
It came out of the sidewalk committee as 50 inches. Brian asked you how wide your ramp was. We never had made that 5 feet, was never part of any draft that we've had on the sidewalk. The ADA highest amount is 48. we added 2 more inches as we walk the sidewalk to take a look. And I agree with you, you have a sidewalk and then all these chairs keep on creeping out. But this is what we're trying to be able to control that by this upgrade to this sidewalk ordinance.
Yeah, it came out of the committee. I actually originally suggested 52 inches. The committee pushed it down to 50 last year. We've had 3 iterations of it. They've all been 50. I asked you for that ramp because I was just curious as to how wide that ramp was compared to our sidewalk ordinance. If your ramp was only 48, then I'm like, maybe we're going to have to take and meld our sidewalk to match your ramp. If yours is 5 feet, that's a bonus for people, especially when that's used for a more specific purpose than ours. So the 50 inches is what we've always been at, and I would just like to see it that we use the same wording throughout the ordinance so that we're not mentioning it one way, and another way, another way.
Very well, thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, me. So these, there was a email exchange, and is this the reference, this comment about referencing things, is that what you meant by saying there was a hole in the ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, all right, just wanted to make sure that was clear. And I'm not going to stand in the way of this going to public hearing, but I did send a note to Mr. Pinio on Sunday, 6 July, and it's just a question, and I think it's a question that we have a responsibility to take a slap at here for the folks out there. At the last meeting, we said that this ordinance would apply to everybody. Anybody who's got a sidewalk, the ordinance applies. That's what you said, and that's what I believe.
Sidewalk, not
Town sidewalks.
Okay.
Town sidewalks.
Okay.
Sorry. Town
It's
sidewalks.
town sidewalk.
Yeah, I'm not messing around with privately owned sidewalks. None of my business. So my question for the town sidewalks is, are there any properties that immediately become non-compliant either due to an air conditioner or sidewalk stoop or any semi-permanent structure? And if the answer to that is yes, have we let them know? And I'm not asking you to give me an answer now, but I think, at least for me, that's a fair question, because somebody's going to say, well, wait, what about me? I understand that people are moving, furniture around, and I don't know how to deal with that, and I'm sure you folks will have some theories, but if somebody has a permanent structure like a stoop out in front of their building on a town sidewalk, or they have an air conditioner hanging out, and they immediately become non-compliant by virtue of this ordinance, I believe we have a responsibility to let them know and invite them to come to the public hearing, because they are technically on a butter, so they would probably want to get notice. So that's all I have.
Yeah, a stoop is a permanent part of the building.
That's why I say semi-permanent or permanent structure.
Well, if it's a permanent, the stoop's there. We were getting at the tables and chairs and everything else that's being moved. I'll reword it, but I think that's what this is talking about. It's talking about objects.
Yeah,
being
objects
placed
placed.
on the sidewalk, not the existing what's there.
So are we going to grand person in somebody who has one of those little round things coming out of their building, which if you take your tape measure and go to the end of that bubble on that round thing and go to the curbing, that becomes 29 inches, 30 inches. Are they grand personed in?
They aren't placing it on the sidewalk. It's a fixture of that building. This is placing objects on the sidewalk.
So we're grand personing in anybody who has a permanent structure.
No.
No.
14017, objects. Objects placed on sidewalk must be monitored for location of objects and for cleanliness, such as removal of trash and dirty dishware, and must not infringe on the town's minimum standard 50-inch clear sidewalk width.
So Mr. Pinio, could you just maybe send this along to the team here? My question stands. Are there any properties that immediately become non-compliant, either due to an air conditioner, sidewalk stoop, or any semi-permanent structure? If yes, have they been notified?
Well, an object placed on the sidewalk. We're talking about something put on the sidewalk, not something that's permanently there or something coming out of their building. I think it's clear that. I will go, we can go back in and read it again, but we were talking about placing objects on the sidewalk.
So the answer may be, no problem, everything's good.
Yep.
You can have your stoop.
Yes.
Well, I think that we ought to go down, or some of us might go down and look and see how many there are, if any. I know of one.
Well,
I know
one
of
stoop?
but
Again,
I'll
a
be glad
stoop
to
is-
get down and look at it.
A stoop is not an object placed on a sidewalk.
If,
There are objects right now placed on the sidewalk
Yeah.
that make it less than 50 inches, but we're not talking stoops, we're not talking air conditioners, we're not talking awnings. Those fall under a different ordinance. What we're talking about is objects placed on the sidewalk. The committee was formed for tables and chairs being asked of us all the time, and for people saying that there were racks out that made the sidewalks narrow and other things. So we're not concerned with the buildings, the steps, anything like that. We do address flags if they hit people in the head, but again, that's another ordinance. This is just about putting things on the sidewalks.
yeah, if you do 14014, a property or a business owner must maintain 50 inches of sidewalk from the street edge to the placement of any object on the sidewalk unless there is a prior agreement with the town. And we say the prior agreement with the town, Seven Sons has that building. So we're talking about placement of objects. You don't place your stoop. Your stoop being there was part of your planning process when you built your building.
Yeah. So again, that
That's
one.
fine, if that's the answer to the question, that's the answer to the question.
Yeah, the motion, again, that I have is a property or business owner must maintain the town minimum standard of 50 inches of clear sidewalk width. So we're back to the motion. Do we want to make sure that that wording falls through on both 14014 and 14017 so that it's consistent in the ordinance? That's my question.
Yes, we do.
Okay, we need to
We had a
get this
second.
to a public hearing.
There was a motion
We
for
have to
that
vote on that
wording
motion.
first and the second.
For what?
For the wording of
Oh, okay.
the minimum consistency throughout the ordinance.
All right, we'll deal with that first. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, now,
And just for my clarity, that doesn't disrupt, change, alter, or modify the proposed ordinance, so it can still go
No.
down a path towards public hearing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, just want to make sure everybody out there doesn't pull a, hey, you modified the ordinance. We didn't.
okay, Jim,
Proposed ordinance.
public hearing. All right, next on our agenda is discussion, reconsideration of 6/4/25 crosswalks vote for South Main Street.
So I'd like to move to reconsider the vote by the Wolfeboro Select Board on June 4th, 2025, reference below from page 7 of the approved minutes. Motion by Mr. Thurston to remove parking spots on both sides of 5 crosswalks so there is visibility from both directions of travel along Main Street from Endicott Street to Glendon Street. It was seconded by Mr. O'Brien and it was approved 5-0.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion.
So the only reason that I brought the motion is because I've had a lot of input from members of the business community and people out of downtown. When I speak with them, I say, do you like the safety aspects? They say yes. I say, do you think it would hurt the safety aspects, or would you be up to taking a no parking space that is beyond the crosswalk on the travel lane side and using it as parking still? People who are for the safety say that would be okay. Then people who are upset because the parking spots were all taken, if I say to them, would it be okay if we left the one before the crosswalk and gave the other one back? Oh, that would be better. I would be okay with that. So I haven't found many people that were, no, I want them all back, or no, I want them all the way they are, and I don't want any changed. I've felt that people want something in the middle of compromise, and I am for safety. And the only other mention is there's actually, I counted and I made a map for Chairman Senegal, and there's actually 6 crosswalks between Endicott and Glendon. We addressed 5 of them. We didn't address the one at Mill Street, Endicott Street. So that's just a little clarification.
Linda?
Yeah, I've spent some time walking around town and talking to people in the business community and asking them, you know, how they'd feel if we took the parking space the other side of the crosswalk heading in the direction the car is going, and they all felt that that was a good compromise, that it would give them back some spaces, and they were supportive of it. I also feel that there are at least 2 of them that just wasn't needed because you have either a street or a road coming out from a business where you have just clear visibility, so there was no need. So I'm in support of this. I think we should reconsider and have a conversation about it.
Paul? John?
So I've got a couple handouts here. I'll let Paul speak while I give this out. So before this conversation took place, I did a little research before we did the vote. And what we have here is we have Federal Highway Administration and MUTCO, a manual on uniform traffic control. And basically what we all start with, most drivers have had the heart-stopping experience of being forced to suddenly slam on the brakes to avoid an animal or an object on entering the path without warning. Some have even had to brake or swerve to avoid hitting a pedestrian or cyclist. It's not a scenario anyone hopes to ever find themselves in, and unfortunately, it's one that can be largely avoided by providing adequate stop sight distances at intersections, mid-block crosswalks, trails, and railway crossings. On the next page, for a driver to come to a safe stop ahead of an object or a person, they need time to perceive, recognize, and react, called perception response time. The reaction distance, the distance traveled by a vehicle from the instant the driver sees an object and to the instant the brakes are applied. The braking distance is the distance traveled by a vehicle from the instant brake application begins to the instant the vehicle comes to a complete stop. So a vehicle going 30 miles an hour takes 80 feet to stop. So we have a 30 mile an hour zone down here. That's us. So as we turn the page, I noted parked cars on streets near crossing points can interfere with the visibility, parking restrictions, or can help allow for clear sight lines, pedestrians for drivers. The Federal Highway FHWA recommends parking be restricted 50 feet from crossing points on roads with speed limits up to 35. We're saying 20 feet, not 50 feet. So the next page. So regulations for the State Department of Transportation, DOT, usually controls designated state highways that are often receptive to local input but refrain from final authority. MUTCO guidance on crosswalks includes markings, safety measures. It's provided by the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices and the Federal Highway Administration. Best practices for sightlines: a minimum parking setback of 20 feet from the crosswalk is recommended to improve pedestrian safety by increasing sight distance, Placing advanced stop or yield lines 20 to 50 feet ahead of crosswalk helps to ensure clear sight lines, especially on multi-lane roads. Not us. ADA, the next page. ADA and sight distance. On-street parking near crosswalk needs designated accessible spaces that allow individuals to safely exit and maneuver the sidewalk without entering vehicular traffic. Parking restrictions near crosswalks to improve sight distances for both drivers and pedestrians. Parking restrictions are used near crosswalks. Minimum parking setback of 20 feet from the near side of the crosswalk to the nearest parking space is recommended. This distance can be shortened if curb extensions or bulb outs are present. Next page, manual on uniform traffic control devices again. Outlines detailed guidelines for the crosswalks. Parking on the adjacent to crosswalk. Parking restrictions. Restricting parking near crosswalks is a key method to enhance pedestrian safety by improving sight distance for both drivers and pedestrians. It allows pedestrians to see approaching vehicles and drivers to see pedestrians attempting to cross. Minimum parking setback of 20 feet from the near side of the crosswalk to the nearest parking space is recommended. Next one, sight distance at crosswalks. Driver's perspective. AASHTO considers stopping sight distance for drivers approaching crosswalks, recognizing the importance of drivers being able to see pedestrians and react in time. However, there's less specific guidance on pedestrian decision sight distance and how pedestrians assess risk making a crossing. The AHSHTO's Green Book quote, "The driver of a vehicle approaching an intersection should have an unobstructed view of the entire intersection, including any traffic control devices and sufficient lengths along intersection highways to permit the driver to anticipate and avoid potential collisions." Next page, key points. Crosswalks are intended for pedestrian safety. While crosswalks are designed to provide safe space for pedestrians to cross, drivers must still be vigilant and yield the right of way. Factors contributing to pedestrian accidents. These include failing to yield, improper crossing, visibility issues, darkness, weather obstructions, and pedestrian behavior. New Hampshire's pedestrian fatality rate was 6.8%, and that's on the next page on the bottom. So you had eight pedestrians that were killed in the state of New Hampshire, and that was in 2022. And on the last page, we have parking restrictions for Dover. Yeah, it's a method of improving pedestrian safety in their crossings by increasing the sight distance for both drivers and pedestrians. Restricting parking within a certain distance of a crosswalk enables the pedestrian to better see approaching vehicles as well as allowing approaching drivers to better see pedestrians. A minimum parking setback of 20 feet from the near side of the crosswalk to the nearest parking space should be used when curb extensions or bulb outs are present. And so I went to Alton the other day. They actually copied our same setbacks with our crosswalks down there. So, I mean, you have multiple instances where people are, it's not the law, but it's highly recommended by all organizations.
I don't
Go ahead.
raise my hand for anything.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak to this as well. 4 of the 5 of us sitting on this board have been hanging around with each other for about 15 years. Not you. But 4 of the 5 of us on the board have been hanging around, and 4 of the 5 of us on this board, in one way, shape, or form, have had a conversation by the Public Works Director, highway folks, about the need to deal with our crosswalks in the downtown area. And the reason we didn't deal with it is to what Mr. Thurston said, and read into the record, is we get to make some big time decisions. Sometimes, we can follow the guidelines, and sometimes we don't. That's what we can do as members of the Board of Selectmen. We all kind of agreed with each other. I might be wrong. Someone will remind me if I am. That we all said, you know what? When we get to the point where we're starting to mess around with the streets and the sewer and the water lines, we should probably tee this thing up. On June 4th, 5 of these board members that I sit with voted unanimously to deal with the crosswalk issue. And they did, because they heard from a resident that came forward and had photographs and said, this is a little scary. And I thought it was a very compelling argument. I really did. I actually went home that night and called Susan, and I said, I think we did something really important. We dealt with the crosswalk issue. That crosswalk issue brought us into compliance with state and federal regulations. We probably exceeded that compliance, but you know what? We took a big time, what I call $10 decision, and we did it. On June 18th, the Chamber of Commerce and 3 business owners came and spoke to us. One was in favor of what we did, and the others said, you know what, you kind of didn't get it right. The main objection that I heard at that time is that we needed to have a much broader, data-driven discussion of community decisions, and our actions could hurt business interests. Everyone had a comment that said, but by the way, safety is important. The Chamber is compiling for us some input from its members that I hope that we receive. And 2 members of this board have said we should reconsider what we did. In my opinion, the 2 issues that I heard the other night were, I think you're going to create a catastrophe for the business, my word, I think you're going to create a bad situation for the business community in terms of parking spaces. And if you remember, that morphed into, well, we need maybe a parking lot and bigger things. And then the other thing that I heard was that we may have acted too quickly. And I think we acted appropriately. But that being that, I was really concerned by Mr. Hutchinson and Mr. Emery's questions to us that said, did you really take the time to dig around and do some data? And they know, my colleagues know that I'm a data-driven person. So I did some. And with your permission, I'm going to read some data into the record. What I did, and this will tell you how many times I go down and drink coffee and do other things, I took 37 samples of data. I basically got in my car at random times and I drove downtown, and as I drove downtown, I counted parking spaces on the thoroughfare. The thoroughfare from Mill Street to Union Street. I did not count empty parking spaces or occupied parking spaces in the town docks. I didn't go on Central Avenue. I didn't go on the back. I didn't go back there. I did not include handicap parking spaces, nor did I include the parking spaces in front of the post office. I didn't do that. I just simply counted parking spaces as I transited in this thoroughfare. I've been away for a week, so there's a week's gap in my data. But I will continue to collect data. June 15th, 12:31 in the afternoon, 15 vacant spots. June 20th, 5:36 at night, 17 vacant spots. June 23rd, 11:38 in the morning, 18 vacant spots. 12:13 in the afternoon that same day, 6 vacant spots. 2 p.m. that afternoon, 10 vacant spots. 6:23 in the evening, 10 vacant spots. By the way, every time I collected this information, I sent it to Amy so that nobody could suggest that I was just MSUing it, making stuff up. June 24th, 12 o'clock, 5 vacant spots plus an additional 3 blocked off by Dawson in front of the downtown grill. They were fixing the sidewalk. 3:10 in the afternoon, 15 vacant spots. 3:50 in the afternoon, 21 vacant spots. June 25th, 1:06 in the afternoon, 15 vacant spots. June 26th, 5:57 in the evening, 15 vacant spots. June 27th, at 12:15, 5 vacant spots, and a couple blocked off by Dawson in front of the T-shirt shop. 3:46 in the afternoon, same day, 21 vacant spots. 4 p.m., 5 vacant spots. 5:42, 10 vacant spots. June 28th, 5:15 in the evening, 6 vacant spots. 7:19 in the evening, 9 vacant spots. June 29th, 1:05 in the afternoon, 1 vacant spot. 3:28 in the afternoon, 9 vacant spots. 5:15 in the evening, 11 vacant spots. June 30th, 11:10 in the morning, 11 vacant spots. 1:04 in the afternoon, 5 vacant spots. Kind of tells you my coffee habits.
Sure does.
July 1st, 12:23, 3 vacant spots. 1:04 in the afternoon, 3 vacant spots. 5:30 in the evening, dinner time, 20 vacant spots. July 2nd, 3:18 in the afternoon, 5 vacant spots. 5:59 in the evening, 3 vacant spots. July 3rd at 11:59 in the morning, 5 vacant spots. July 3rd at 3:22 in the afternoon, 9 vacant spots. July 4th at 2:40 in the afternoon, 6 vacant spots. And here we go, it's bingo time. July 4th at 8 p.m., couldn't find a place to park. I had to go down to Foss Field, not a problem, I found a place down there. July 15th, 1:40 in the afternoon, 9 vacant spots. July 16th at 11:30 in the morning, 5 vacant spots. July 16th at 1:15 in the afternoon, 6 vacant spots. July 15th at 3:30 in the afternoon, 9 vacant spots. And today at 5:30, 9 vacant spots. I did not avoid taking data samples at any time. I didn't go downtown and close my eyes and say, well, it's too busy, I'm not taking data today. 37 observations. One observation said slammed. Average observations tell me that at any given point in time you get 6 vacant spots. So if I could finish, and then you can counter, and I appreciate your forbearance. So number one, I come away with that and I say, I think we did the right thing. I'm going to continue to collect data because I know that our colleagues and myself are concerned about, well, maybe we need to have more parking in our downtown area, like, parking facilities, and that's a valid question. I concur with Mr. Thurston. Susan and I took a ride down to Hampton Beach a couple of weeks ago to look at the sandcastles, which melted in the rain, and they were gone, but I did notice that Hampton does the 20 feet thing. Alton does it. I was out of town in another state and noticed that they do it as well. But we get the right and the prerogatives to do whatever we want with parking spaces. We really do. I think we're super safe. I will say, and I mean this very sincerely, special interests, being the business community, do have a legitimate voice in our town. They do. If we didn't have them, we'd have a big problem. And 2 of our board members represented those interests, and that's fine. I appreciate and applaud that. But the voters do as well. They get a vote. And so if our special interests have a concern, the voters should also get a chance to do it. The question of the assertion that we're creating demonstrable harm, I say in the limited amount of samples that I've done, I can't find it. All right? I can't support something that, in my view, is less safe. I applaud the idea of having maybe some space coming down the hill, and that all makes sense. And somebody came to the microphone and said maybe bike racks or motorcycles. Explain that to somebody in a wheelchair. I learned a long time ago that Mom and Dad told me, always look both ways. Whether you're going in a crosswalk or whether you're coming out of a side street, and we know what happens when you don't look both ways. I can support collecting more information, and I'll do that. And I want the entire voter population, if we decide tonight to do something that I think is not consistent with what I want to do, then I want to suggest to us that we do exactly what we did several months ago when we pitched that question up at Pickering Corner to the voters. Let them weigh in and do what we want to do. But right now, I would tell you, I can't support moderating what we did. So that's where we are.
Dave, so I went through my calendar as you were giving me those dates. And June, yes, not as busy as July. There were very few weekend dates between 8 and 2 p.m. Very few weekend dates between 8 and 2 p.m. As a matter of fact, the 2 that you stated that were weekend dates, there was 0 and 1 parking spot.
Where did I say 0 and 1 parking spot?
Or 1 or 2, 1 or 3 or whatever. But there were
So you're questioning my data?
I am questioning your data. I think it did not focus on when there is the most parking in downtown. 5 o'clock at night, everybody's home
Having
with-
dinner.
Yeah. And by 5 o'clock, we don't have the 2-hour parking ban anymore either. So, but I would please, if you're going to do that, put it in an Excel spreadsheet and include the day of the week. And make sure that your sample is not random, that it includes all times between 8 and 2 and the busiest times between 8 and 2.
Well, if I could respond to that, the only time
No,
I'll
no,
do
no,
it is
no,
when I
no,
get in the
whoa,
car
whoa,
to get
whoa,
coffee.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa,
You told me to be quiet.
Okay.
I'm telling you to be
All right, go
quiet. I have talked to, and I'm as much for safety as anybody else, but I've talked to, and we have had discussions with the police department, and we have not had any serious issues with pedestrian or cyclist accidents in our downtown corridor where we remove these parking spots. I am not saying that we shouldn't have a spot before the crosswalk, it gives great visibility, but a spot after the crosswalk is necessary if you're going 30 or 35 miles an hour, but when we have congestion in downtown, the speed limit is not 30 or 35 miles an hour, the speed limit is 5 miles an hour. So I am for safety, but I think there's a compromise. I think that instead of taking all of them, maybe we have a way that we can take a few less. Now you can refute me all you'd like.
Yeah, my issue and reason why I wanted to reconsider, and I take this on myself for not stopping that night, us moving forward with this, we really should have held a public hearing. We didn't get that information from the public. And I'd be very comfortable us reconsidering it, schedule a public hearing, get some information, is another way we can do it. But we didn't take in the public, and I believe that was a mistake by not holding it as a public hearing.
Dave, and the last one is I take offense to a colleague telling me that I was pandering to business interests because I had as many or more people talk to me about it who don't have businesses and don't live near downtown, but come to downtown to do their grocery shopping, their regular shopping, to go to restaurants, to go to lunch, to do whatever they're going to do.
Mr. Chairman, if you thought I was suggesting pandering, I apologize. Business interests have a voice at the table, period, in the message. They do. If we don't have businesses, well, this town is going to implode. So I think they have a voice. I really do. I was a business person, so I'd love having people pander about me. I am not going to make it a special event for me to change my patterns of coming in and out of downtown. I'll gladly provide you a spreadsheet. Please don't question my integrity. I agree with Linda. We probably should have had a good old-fashioned thrashing session.
Yeah.
Just get at it, right?
Yep.
We still can.
And just kind
still
of
can.
get at it. And so, you know, I would feel comfortable with letting this, because if we go around and start unpainting the crosswalks right now, we're going to, one of the things I think we get accused of is being inconsistent and indecisive, and I really don't think we should do that. We should let this thing go. We're not creating an unsafe situation right now. Actually, the situation is the most safe situation we've had in the downtown area since the time I moved into this place. So we're not running a risk of causing pain because of our inaction. I think we should take this thing, let it get through the summertime. I'll continue to buy coffee at some frequency, and I'll put the day of the week. By the way, I was thinking about doing the weather, too, because the weather isn't a fact.
I really would like the weather, because
we'll do a
that
weather
played a
forecast, right? It was
huge
raining
role.
that day. The only day it was really raining was on the 2015. So, and in the fall, why don't we just put it back on the table and decide what we want to do? And at that point, if we can't come to conclusion, get the voters involved and let them figure it out.
I'd like to get the voters involved now.
That's my feeling as well, Linda, and I think that we ought to set this up for a public hearing, Jim, in reference to the crosswalk regulations. And until that time, we're going to just leave the crosswalk markings the way they are. Okay? Everybody agree with that at this point?
What do we do with the motion?
Well,
We,
we're reconsidering by holding a public hearing.
right.
When do you want to have a public hearing?
Well, Jim's going to set that up.
I would do it the next meeting.
Well, if we can, if the time frame works, then we will. Okay, but for now, we're going to just leave it the way it is. And thank you, Brian, for doing this. This is just what I wanted.
So can I make one comment? So
Yes.
we've marked our areas. We've provided safety for our pedestrians. I can already envision what's going to happen. Our business community is all going to flood in here, and all those
That's
older
fine.
people that are sitting at home, they're gonna sit at home and they're gonna watch what's going to happen, and then a vote takes place. The vote changes. Then we take parking spots away. First person that goes out there that gets hit, now the town's liable.
Okay.
You have insurance when you drive your car down the road. You have insurance because there's a thing called accidents, and it happens. You don't guarantee that you're not going to get in an accident, but accidents do happen. So when you say you're going to take them back, you're saying, okay, we can guarantee everybody down there is always going to be safe. That's an accident.
Well, that's what we're going to have a public hearing for, and if that happens, we have to vote on it.
We can't guarantee what we have now
Okay.
is there's not going to be an accident.
I'll just speak to John's comment.
All right.
I agree, John. You can't
Let's move along. Next on our agenda is 2026 budget guidelines. Jim, you want to deal with that one?
Yep. So it's that time of year again, budget guidelines will be going out to department heads tomorrow morning. Just want to give you a summary of what the 2026 budget will look like as we begin the process. In our general fund, the 2025 operating budget that was approved by the voters was $19,064,000. I've allocated that out in the memo to you. And you may recall that we approved 2 collective bargaining agreements. We also approved the hiring of a deputy fire chief and 3 firefighter EMTs. With that said, before we even start with the wages and the collective bargaining agreements that we have in place, we're going to be going from $6,591,000 to $7,263,000 when we start the budget process. Health insurance, as you are well aware, we do not get that pricing set until November. They always tell us to create a 10% placeholder. We have onboarding of new staffing. We have onboarding of some vacant positions. As a result of this, we're looking at some increases in health insurance that will go most likely from the neighborhood of $2,400,000 upwards of $2.9 million at this point is what we're estimating. Hopefully we don't see a 10% increase. Outside services, here we're going to see some increases as well. As you recall, being in the default budget for 2 years in a row, we are still working off of the ambulance service contract at $275,000. We will know late in August what that price will be for 2026, but that could be upwards of $808,000, which is an increase of $532,000. Rentals and leases, that makes up 8% of our budget. Going to ask department heads to strive to keep that level. Same thing with the 500 series. 600 series, we're going to see some increases there. With the onboarding of the new public safety building, we're going to see an increase of $45,000 in propane alone. Machinery and equipment, literally it's $87,000 across all town departments. We're going to ask department heads to strive to keep that level. And then we have a breakdown right now with the complete package for 2025 on the general, or excuse me, 2026 when we start the budget process. We're looking at a $1,584,000 increase, or 8.31%, before we even do a whole lot of work. The next page goes into the actual guidelines for the department heads. First page lays out internal calendar, some of the benchmarks that we have set for the town, and then it goes through the process schedule. We're waiting for confirmation on the statutory dates, but we're hopeful that we've nailed them correctly to have everything complete. And then it lays out the traditional guidelines to department heads to get them in for review. It also lays out the proposed select board schedule, the proposed budget committee schedule. So here are your budget guidelines for you to be aware of as they go to department heads tomorrow, and I will answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody? Linda?
Yeah, I am, when you look at about 1.5 million, that does not include any raises for the union, a non-union.
Correct.
And that puts them back at a wage of 2023.
Correct.
So the two increases they've had that we've been able to give them will be wiped out.
We've been able to absorb them within the existing contracts, that is, or existing budgets. But yeah, that's going to be factored in. So you're going to be looking at a couple $100,000 there.
Yeah, but they're wiped out at this figure. I want people to understand that it will be, those wages are not at all equitable.
Correct.
Based on this. Thank you.
That was going to be one of mine.
Well, I'm sorry you're.
Well, you're, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Jim, thanks for this work, and Sam, thanks for the work, hard work. Just so that people understand, the way I'd look at this thing is roughly 74% of this budget is fixed. Can't make it go away. You can't, unless we decide we want to not honor a wage contract with the union. I don't think that's a smart thing to do. Unless we decide we want to default on our debt payments, that's not a really smart thing to do. And unless we decide we want to cut benefits for our associates. I look at those three things and I said, that's fixed. Those three items are fixed. Linda asked the question and one-upped me again. That doesn't include the fact that we have associates in our town who are not part of the bargaining unit, who, if we did not give them a salary treatment, they would, what was your term, Linda?
They'd be go back to 2000.
They go fall backwards,
Yep.
okay? So I'm just going to make up a percentage increase on our percentage on that and say if we just did comparable, 75% of this budget we're looking at's fixed, maybe 76%. Can't go away unless we take a decision to reduce the size of the town. Okay? That means that we have roughly 24% of this budget to play with. And I say play with, I don't mean that in a funny way. That's about what we got to work with. Some unknowns that we haven't plugged into this budget, and Jim kind of alluded to it, is the cost to insure people for medical and dental. It's a wild card. I don't know what percent of the budget it could be, but those things normally come at us at double-digit rates. What did it come at last year, Jimmy?
It was 9.
Increase last year, I think it was just shy of 8%.
8%. Okay? Now, 8% of that number added to the budget, so you could be running around 78 to 79% of this budget fixed. So we need to find a way to deal with 22% of the budget. question I would ask Mr. Pinio, for the department leadership, when you come forward, please talk about accomplishments and your goals and your people. One of the things that I heard, and I know Jim heard, and I know we've all heard from people, is we have a concern about recruiting and retaining people. So, accomplishments and goals. And by the way, I would ask the same question of any organization that we fund, accomplishments and goals. It should be, and it will be, I think, a very difficult year to find a way to fund these operations with 22% wiggle room. That's about where we are. So that's the challenge. Fuel and all these other things are things we're going to have to deal with. And I would not presume upon this board or anybody else to tell you where my ideas are as to where we go. But accomplishments, goals, and people is really what I think we should be looking at. And understanding that, for me, personally, I would say that this budget probably should be land around maybe a 5%, some math I did on an airplane, a 5% lift year over year, including giving our associates salary treatment. I think 5% is where we ought to put this thing.
Anybody else? Linda?
Yeah, I think the other thing that we need to get explained to the voters, that as we pass these large warrant articles, they have a major impact on the operating budget. Last year, $1 million was added because of the interest and principal payments for the public safety building. Public safety building. So that's important that we understand that when we go to put these warrant articles out, that we take a look at that. And that's why I asked, what of those warrant articles that we already have out there are not bonded?
So Jim, we've seen similar things like this before from you, and you always build in a 10% placeholder for health and dental insurance. It's built into this. Usually it has, since I've been on the board, it's come in at less than that. And it's good that we use a conservative figure for the placeholder for health and dental. And we all know this. This is the same as the business that I work for. You have the same as our school department. There are fixed costs that you can't get rid of. It's just the cost of doing business.
Okay, anybody else at this point? Okay. You all set, Jim?
Yeah, so these will be out to department heads tomorrow, and we'll be in front of you October 2nd, starting budget reviews.
Oh, wonderful. Glad to hear that. All right, next is Select Board Work Plan.
Timely.
What?
I said, how timely.
All right, there are 11 items on this. Select Board 2025 Work Plan. 1, review all fees and establish timeline for yearly review. Continue to review and approve fee structures for all enterprise funds with an eye towards ensuring that surplus funds become available for future investments. I'm going to read these if there's any comments.
I'll make a comment on that one. I think we do a very good job with electric and with water.
Okay.
I'm gonna agree with that to a point. I think the last sentence is the one that I think is the operative sentence, and that is generate revenue, pay your bills, and have enough money left over to fund your capital.
And we do that in water, and we do that in electric.
Well, that's the operative, is fund your capital.
Okay, number 2, establish a database for all lease and license agreements and review timeline for annual rate increases and renewal. Examine, renew external leases with an eye towards market-based rates. Linda?
Yeah, I think we saw a beginning draft of that, and I would like to see us review that and see where that timeline is, and make sure we've got all the information. As I recall, some of the information we were questioning whether it was accurate. So we need to get a handle of that, I believe.
Dave?
Paul?
Yeah, so this, there's two parts to this, and I agree with Linda. Part one came in by a member of the public who put a 91A on us and said, show me what you got. That's fine, and that was a legitimate and reasonable and perfectly smart thing to do. But part two is, you know, we always have an opportunity to, and I'm not going to do the market rates thing speech here tonight, but we should have some consistency in the way we price things. And for those of you who've been out there watching the way we've been thrashing around on just dock fees, I mean, it's hard work. And I think this is something that we should get about the business of doing, and I appreciate what Linda just said. Thank you.
Dave, and on top of that, if we are going to increase leases to get towards market-based rates, I believe it needs to be small incremental pieces. We shouldn't take and triple or quadruple somebody's expense, because it's our fault that the leases are where they are. And we shouldn't take it out on someone and say, oh, by the way, you're going from 5,000 to 30,000. Businesses don't have that built into their books.
Okay, number 3, hold work sessions on how to support community TV.
I would like to put that one on hold. I think community TV is stepping forward and helping us with that, doing their own plan.
So you want to put it on hold, Linda, or would you kind of think that
I think
since we get to talk to the public all the time, you know, invite them quarterly to come update us?
community TV, she was here just the other.
But quarterly update us on what's going on? Or no, you just want to put it on hold?
I want to put it on hold at this point. I think they have made a major step and are reforming in some ways their 501c3. They're going to try to go out and raise some money. Let's give them a little time to work.
No.
And then I think we may want to have some more conversations, but let's give them some time to get their stuff going.
But they will be coming in for an appropriation, right?
Yeah, they'll be coming in. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't say.
Theoretically. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, number 4, update the town's financial policies with an eye towards improving operating metrics, as well as much improved financial and budget reporting to the public. Number 5, work with the Heritage Commission to address the Libby Museum's building issues and future operating model. I think we have some discussion tonight. 6, review and publish water and sewer capacity data, obtain whatever
Contemporaneous.
contemporaneous information required, ensure that data delineates townwide capabilities.
I
I
think,
think we're trying to do that.
yeah, I think tonight we heard about the contract with Underwood Engineering to start this, and I'm very pleased that I feel we've got at least a step going.
7, emphasize water quality issues with all projects. Review the Wolfeboro Bay Watershed Management Plan and move forward with WMP recommendations.
Wolfeboro Waters is starting to do that. We're looking at South Main Street. We're working with New Hampshire DOT. That's from Crossroads going down to Abenaki Estates. And I believe the next one that Wolfeboro Waters will be talking about is the ramp at the railroad station, because that was the next one.
Yeah.
Dave, if I could, I mean, I remember Mr. Ford telling us that everything in this town, every place we stand or sit is watershed to a water body. And whether it's private land or public land, we all are moving water, sometimes unaddressed, into water bodies. Planning, zoning, us. I think this is really important. I'm glad it's on the work plan, because it is, as well as the business community, if we have bad water in this town, we got problems. So I'm glad we're going to put this on the work plan.
And number 8, address the chronic operating losses of the Pop Whalen Ice Arena and Art Center. Set a plan to return it to the levels promoted by the Board of Selectmen to the voters at the 2022 deliberative session. I think we're working towards that myself.
Yeah, I think so. I think that we have to give Brian Paul a little bit of time,
He's coming up with a lot of ideas.
one season, he's had one season, and I already see things moving in the right direction. It's not going to be a flip the switch overnight.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mr. Paul is doing an outstanding job. I think it's great. This isn't about Brian Paul and how hard he's working or not, because we all know he is. I mean, the kid works his butt. It's the distance between 2022 and today.
Well, I think if we are able to rent at the rate of rental that was projected in 2022, we'll make the budget. That's our problem.
Right.
We're not being able to do that. And I think we should keep on looking at that and every option. So
Yeah, it's all
I don't
about
have
right.
any problem with that being on here. I think we shouldn't lose that.
I agree.
Yeah, there's a big flea market there this coming weekend.
Yes,
so
yeah, we see signs.
Be
around it.
interesting.
Yep.
All right, number 9, continue educate the public on the Route 28 project. I think we've been doing that pretty well.
The only thing I'd just like to add, not add to it, but just remind people is we thrashed about at the Pickering corner and whether we should or shouldn't have a roundabout and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we're still thinking about taking out chainsaws and taking down trees. And, one of the things that the public probably wants to start helping us think about is not how effective, as Linda said, we're really good at taking them down.
We are.
But we're crappy at putting them back. And there may be, and I hate to do this, but there may be a need to have some folks step forward and say, we want to help beautify the corridor. And then not have one of these, problem admiration sessions where we just sit around after the fact and go, that really sucked. If we think we're going to be doing the 28 project, then somebody should step forward and say, why don't you start figuring out how to beautify the corridor?
Yes.
That's kind of what's in the back of my mind, right?
I think we're doing that partly with Barry's help.
We need to get, Barry needs to get his plan okay by DOT.
But that's ongoing.
But if you hear Barry, he'll tell you he hasn't got a lot of money to put the stuff back.
Well,
You can take them down.
I agree with you. I think we're going to have to find more money to put them back.
I agree.
No
But
doubt.
that's up to those folks out there.
And number 10, continue to address the town's needs for an ambulance service. I think we've got to handle somewhat on that. And then number 11, the last one, is the community center. And what are we going to do? And
So we're actually calling that the multi-generational community center.
Shall we? We should add multi-generation.
Were you on the naming committee
I
for
agree with
that?
you.
Because were you on the naming committee for that, multi-generational?
Well, it
Well,
is
anyway,
multi-generational because it's,
I think we are looking at
Yeah.
it that way. Yes, it's not just the community center.
Well, I think what we should do is make sure we get that wording on our work plan. And we can just
Yep.
update it by putting that on. Oh, I think that's a good point.
I would hope any community center would be multi-generational.
But I think we talked about it that way.
Well, some people think of community centers as being one-sided, just for kids. It's not.
but we want to make the feel of the community all coming together to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay, next on our agenda is committee reporting.
This is mine.
Sure is.
Would you like to
Linda
deal
just
with
said, sure is.
it? Would you like to take care of this?
Yeah, I'd be
Paul?
glad to do it. So for what it's worth, I said anyone appointed to a select board committee or ad hoc committee is required to follow a few simple, but we're not negotiating the rules. All committee meetings should be properly noticed, simple, right? Minutes of meetings should be taken and published promptly in accordance with the already published guidelines, simple. Committee members will avoid accidentally creating a meeting without notice, nor will they engage in sequential briefing, simple. No committee nor its members will task town staff, pick up the phone, call Steve and say, hey, Steve, come out here to a meeting, without Jim getting involved. Nor their suppliers, nor our suppliers. No committee nor its members shall act in a regulatory capacity. Hi, I'm from XYZ committee. I'm here to observe what you do. Any issues, concerns, or requests by committee members should be voted upon by its membership and sent to Jim then conveyed over to the select board if necessary. And then I put a new one on there. So to me, I think those are kind of like pretty straightforward stuff. But then I put a new one on here, which I know is probably a little bit of a thing. I have this belief that says if I give you money to run your committee, you owe the public at least every quarter some information about what you're doing. What have you accomplished and what do you plan to do? And these are not elected committees, Suzanne. These are appointed committees. And so I said, give us a written report, or I'd even be willing to moderate it. Give us a one-pager or stand up there at the microphone and say, here's what I did and here's what I'm going to do in the next quarter. Pretty simple. I do not believe, and I know I'll get pushback from colleagues here, I do not believe that we should tell the customer, here's a map, here's a flashlight, go to our website and try to find out what's going on. I don't think that's right. We should make it easy for them to find at their own time when they want to look at it. So that's what I put out there.
Linda?
Yes, I don't disagree with numbers 1 through 6, but I believe that we as a Board of Selectmen spent time to put the rules and procedures and give the committees a flow chart on what is a meeting, et cetera, the role of the chairman, code of ethics, and we need to make sure this goes out to those committees, and it'll cover just about everything you have here, Paul.
But
and
not 7.
No, I said 1 through 6,
Yeah.
okay? So I think we've done that. I have no problem with the way you're wording it, but I think those documents are important and that we should get them out. In terms of number 7, and I understand what you're trying to accomplish here, but for the committees and for the committee chair to get a report out every 3 months, I think is an added burden. I look at Wolfeboro Waters, just trying to get the agenda together. We got 3 different subcommittees. We write a full write-up for the annual report where they get the whole works. And I guess I could go to twice a year, one halfway through and one in the annual report. I think I have a hard time just getting a secretary. We don't pay for any secretaries, and people are volunteering their time. If Wolfeboro Waters is going to spend something or need something, it always comes through the Board of Selectmen because the Board of Selectmen are the importing agent. So, and I think we each of us, and I've got a bunch I'm going to do tonight as my committee reports, as I saw this, I'm trying to make them more informative. So that's kind of where I am on it.
Okay, anybody else want to comment?
Yeah, so I have one. Number 5, no committee nor its members shall act as a regulatory capacity.
In a regulatory.
Yeah. What about our budget committee?
That's not an appointed committee, it's an elected committee by the public.
Yeah.
They are a regulator.
Yes, they're
By
elected.
definition, they get, by the way, folks, those are the people who recommend to you the budget. We recommend it to them and they recommend it to the public, and they get to change it.
So any issues, concerns, so explain this one to me also so I understand, I just want to understand these. Any issues, concerns, or requests by the committee members should be voted upon by its membership and conveyed to the town manager in writing. What issues, concerns, or requests? Can you give me an example?
No, I don't want to do that, and I'm not going to hedge, because then we'll get into, that's different. And, Linda, bless her heart, picked up on Wolfeboro Waters as an example. But the principle here is really simple. What we don't want to have is a member of an appointed committee, freelancing, one way or the other. If there's an issue that the committee can't seem to get sorted out, they go through their chair and go to Jim. That's just simple. To me, it's just really that simple.
All right, I didn't understand it because it didn't.
No worries. I don't expect you to.
It didn't seem what 6 actually says.
Okay, good.
At all.
Well, you can write something.
And 7, what about ad hoc committees?
Yeah, ad hoc. I said it at the top, didn't I?
Yes,
I said it at the
you
top.
did. Yeah,
I say
so-
ad hoc committee.
but how
No
can-
select board or ad hoc.
How
committee.
can an ad hoc, if they only meet once a year, they got to report quarterly with the same information?
No, it'd be really
over and over
simple.
again?
We only meet once a year. We have no quarterly reports. It's really, I mean, this is not really rocket science. It's just, we only meet once a year, you know, and there are other committees out there that I'm aware of, and you are too. If you only meet once a year, the answer is we only meet once a year.
I guess the other, on all these committees, there are Board of Selectmen representatives
Yeah.
that should be helping them
Yeah.
to stay within their lanes.
Yeah.
And that's why we put the packet together.
Yeah.
So it's really our job to address if that's happening.
And see, where I agree with that, Linda, but what I really, I'm guided by two things. One is, I think that our committees in general and in specific do incredibly hard work. They really, and I mean that sincerely, they do. And they don't get a lot of visibility. I'm not talking about elected committees, because they get a lot of visibility. And I want them to get some sunshine out there. And by the way, at the risk of flattering people, we have two members of an ad hoc committee sitting out there that have taken the time every time they get to come up here and tell us what they're all about. I think we need to give a lot of visibility to our teams. I think we need to get more people out in the consuming public to say, you know what, I want to get involved with some of this stuff. That's what I want to do. And if it's too much of a labor for somebody every 90 days to put down on one piece of paper, here's what I've been doing, here's what I'm thinking about doing, I have a lot more questions, but I won't ask them here.
All right, what would you like to do with
I'd like
this?
to call a motion to adopt this.
Basically, you want to adopt number 7.
Yeah, basically, Dave. And I'll figure out with anybody who wants to work with me what the right, mechanism is for publishing this stuff. So I'll make a motion we adopt number 7.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
We have an
All those
opposed?
opposed?
Nope.
Passes. Okay. Scenic Road Committee update.
So I'm going to pull that because I've decided that I'm going to go to the North Wolfeboro Association meetings first. I want to find out more about their organization because I think they will be involved in any rural or scenic road committee that is put back into place, and I think that it would benefit me and the committee if I understand more what is happening up there.
Okay, so you're going to pull that off discussion for tonight?
Yep.
Could I ask just a question?
Sure.
When you teed it up, what was the problem you were trying to solve?
I don't know if it's a problem.
What were you trying to fix?
I think that there is information that people who live on rural and scenic roads aren't privy to when construction is going to happen, when there's lots of questions. How are they plowed? Why are they plowed? When are they plowed? What size trucks? When are trees supposed to be taken down for maintenance? Other things. There's a lot of information. That's why we had the committee at one time.
No, we wrote guidelines at one time, and Steve Rail and myself went to a North Wolfeboro annual meeting to be there and to talk about those issues with them.
Yeah.
I think it was Haynes Hill. We were talking about whether it was going to stay dirt or paved, and it was about 50-50. So I think they do know. I just don't think that we all agree.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like Brian wants to table it so he can get more information.
Correct.
All right.
Okay, I'll agree with that. Anybody else? All right, next on the agenda is Josiah Brown Scholarship Awards. Jim, you want to?
So you have a list of worthy candidates in front of you for consideration this evening. We do have sufficient funds to be able to award these recipients, and we're recommending that you do such.
Linda?
We don't have any number here, how much
Right.
is in the account or how much is being recommended for us to
We had
grant.
five-
I just have
five- We had 5 before, didn't we?
Yeah, but but I want to know how much we
Yeah.
have, because we'd want to do it now.
Okay, can we please
I had
table
a
it?
question mark on that.
Jim's researching.
I'm requesting you table.
Want to table?
Yeah, because the fifth one was pending.
Well,
and
we don't know what, we don't know what the balance in the account is. I mean, I could go look for it, but I don't know what she's recommending us to give for these. And if we give them this for the fall, we want to make sure we're going to have that in the, so I
Well,
just, so
I
I'm
think we have
fine.
enough time for scholarship money before the,
That's a good question.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to table until such time as we have further financial information.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Second.
I agree.
Okay.
We're good with that.
Next on our
We're going to
agenda.
vote. All those in favor of that one? We're all
Oh,
aye.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I don't think there was any question. Jim, you want to approach this next one and dealing with the...
Tabling it.
Huh?
Tabling. We're tabling, Dave.
Okay.
Item L is being tabled.
All right. All right, next is Libby trustees meeting. It's got tabled.
I'm sorry, never mind. Make a motion that we go into Libby trustees meeting?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So I was hopeful to have a contract for you to review this evening. I found out today that the contract will not be available until hopefully our next meeting for the scope of work proposed at the Libby Museum. So that's kind of where that sits. I think we need to have some conversations about Board of Selectmen reaching out to prospective successor trustees, whether or not we try to meet with the Friends of the Libby and/or the Heritage Commission to move this stuff forward so that we can have a conversation with the Attorney General's office that we're doing those steps. We've already got the stabilization in the building moving forward once we receive the contract. We're having the valuation of the collection being taken care of. This is one of the items left that we've got to address with the Attorney General's office.
Anybody else have any comments?
So consistent with Jim's thinking, I'd like to nominate myself and Mr. Thurston to pay a visit at the convenience of the Friends of the Libby Museum, have a conversation about their interests going forward, and I'd like to nominate Ms. Murray and Mr. Deshay to have the same conversation with the ad hoc committee or the Heritage Committee, whichever you think is appropriate. And I do that because I'm the representative for Friends of Libby. Mr. Deshay is representative for the Heritage Commission. So I make those two motions. And I'd like to say that those meetings should take place with some dispatch within 30 days.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure if the Heritage Commission has anything they want to report out.
Thank you. I'm Maggie Steer, Chair of the Ad hoc Libby Museum Committee. And just for people listening, the Heritage Commission works for the town. And in our case, we volunteered to help the Libby trustees who are part of the town-owned Libby Museum. So we're all part of the same team. The Friends of the Libby are an independent nonprofit and have, over the years that they've been in existence, contributed a huge amount of money to the operation of the museum and been very involved in decision-making about what happens there. So it was our hope that we would have a collaborative relationship with them so that we could make a plan going forward for what's in the best interest of the museum. We have not yet been able to accomplish that despite a couple of meetings with them and despite our discussion at the last meeting that we would invite them to meet. You had also asked us to come up with a plan for the museum by the deadline that the Attorney General's office set of July 21st. We had hoped we would have more information from the Friends and be able to work on that plan together. But in the absence of that, I've sort of scrapped that initial plan, and by Monday, we'll give you an outline of what a plan might look like for a new nonprofit to take over the Libby Museum operations. In doing that, I think we'll get some ideas on paper, but it is by no means a final product because it really needs to benefit from discussion with you, the trustees, and with the Friends. It may be that they want to do their own thing and submit their own plan to the Attorney General's office, which would be fine, but we have made the decision that we're no longer going to wait for them to work with us. We're going to give you what you asked us to do on time. I hope that's okay and helpful. If it's not helpful, please tell me now.
Well, this is why we're trying to get these 4 people moving very quickly to help subsidize, not subsidize, but help to get that information to the state.
So is that July 21st deadline a little bit flexible? No. Should we hold off on giving you a plan until we can do that kind of collaboration and discussion? We have a list of questions that we would really like to have answered, and one of them is, does the Friends of the Libby Museum, which has 501c3 status, is an existing nonprofit, has been very involved with the Libby, do they want to come forward? And if their board of 7 people, don't want to do it, can they decide that they would work with others, such as the willing people from the Heritage Commission or any other members from the community, to make a new nonprofit work? It's a big lift to create a new nonprofit, and I don't think the town, through the Heritage Commission, should be in the business of creating their own nonprofit. I think we have to find people within the community who say, yes, keeping the museum going is important to us. And if it's not the Friends, then it has to be someone else. But we as the town can't say, well, we're going to form a spin-off nonprofit. I don't think. Maybe we can.
What do you think? Anybody have any
I go back to
suggestions?
the Trails Committee, and the Trails Committee had 2 groups with virtually the same people on them. One was a nonprofit group, and one was
A
the town
fundraising.
committee.
Yeah, I think what she's asking us, I think we as a board with these 2 nominations, we're going to have people go to the Friends of the Libby to try to get at what you're having a hard time,
Right.
while Brian and I are going to come and talk to you and really pick your brain on where you are and what your concept is. So that's why we voted the way we did. So hopefully we can, when Brian and you and I and your members sit down and talk, we'll get a better idea.
Yeah. I want to say that you've done amazing work trying to pull people together. But the point of this is, again, the objective is clear. And the objective has right now two parties to it. And one party is saying, well, I got to get the other party involved. And the other party is saying, I don't know whether I... So that type of contingency planning, and I can't get something done unless somebody else gets something done, just adds time, confusion, and sometimes acrimony to a very delicate process. So my advice, and I think our advice, at least I can try to speak for my colleagues, and if I'm wrong, they'll let me know, is break this thing up into two parties and have just a very, what do you call it, pick your brain conversation, Linda?
Yes.
Pick your brain kind of conversation. So you got 2 very esteemed colleagues that will pick your brain, and we have the other 2 who'll pick somebody else's brain. As it relates to what has to be done on the 21st, there will be a communication to the Attorney General's office. It should be really straightforward. Here's where we are, here's where we are, here's where we are. It's really simple.
And do you expect us to write that, or will you write that?
I don't think at this time that's a requirement for you.
Okay.
I
Am I
agree with
wrong?
that, too. No,
Yeah, I don't think
agree
at this
with that.
time that's a requirement for you.
Okay.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we've retained somebody to what's the right word on the collection, Jim?
Appraise.
Value.
No.
No, we're
Value the collection.
evaluate.
Evaluate the collection,
Okay.
which will not include the non-Libby assets,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
We're waiting for a contract from the person, that timber frame person, so that we can at least have the building secured so that it won't fall down. Because the premise is we'll have the building, thank you for doing this, so that the collection can stay there. And we're working hard on the successor trustees. That's the objective. All these other things are precursor. The objective is to work on the successor trustees, and we want to help that process along.
I just feel like we're really spinning our wheels in that department.
That's why we want to help the process along.
I have another idea for you to consider, which is that you, as the trustees of the Libby Museum, appoint a transition team and appoint members of the public to serve on that team. And anyone who happens to be on the Board of the Friends who's willing to be on that team could be appointed. And Howard and I, and maybe Dave, would also be happy to serve on that transition team. And those are the people that you have charged with the responsibility for a new nonprofit to come forward to take over the museum. Just an idea for you to consider.
Okay.
So
John?
we have a directive from legal counsel. The first directive is to brace up the building and make sure it survives the winter. We have a short window for that. It's no guarantee after that what's going to happen with the building. We're trying to brace the building to maintain its solvency so it's standing. The other objective is to reach out to those two groups, find out what their plan and what their model is going forward, and then make a decision whether or not those groups can be funded or maintain a requirement to take the Libby over themselves. So either way, the two groups are going in two prongs to work diligently, because as legal counsel says, we have a month or two to come up with some information and come back and say, this is what we've got. But we absolutely know right now that we have to brace up the building. We're going to spend the money to brace up the building, and we only have so much what Paul would call schlitz, and we're conserving that money to do the necessity repairs that we have to do right now, and to come up with a program from two different entities with two different selectmen on each group, and that's where we are right now.
Can I, Mr.
May I
Chairman?
just correct that, John? There aren't two different entities. We, the Heritage Commission, work for you, the Board of Selectmen. We are the town.
So can
We're
I-
not aspiring to run the museum.
Can I make just a correction? And I'm not trying to correct you, John.
Okay.
We have not been directed by the lawyer, okay? The lawyer is giving us competent counsel to say, listen, the charitable trust unit asked some very simple questions early on, and that is, and you and I had a debate about this. Do you know what this thing is worth, the assets are worth? Remember you and I had the debate? And so they said, you really should do that. So they said, do you know what it's worth? Do you have a theory of the case as to how you can protect them? And what are you doing about finding a qualified operator? Those are basically the questions that any reasonable person would ask, right? So we're plowing ground thanks to your great help on the
Structural
that thing.
reinforcement. Yep.
And thanks to your help, you gave us some optionality in terms of what to do with the collection, so that was good. And we're kind of sitting around here saying to ourselves, we really need to start pushing the button on number 3. And that's kind of, sum and substance, that's where we are. And so I wouldn't call it divide and conquer, but to have picked the brains of both entities, some who has some liquidity, some who has some ideas. You have ideas and no liquidity. They have liquidity. So to pick the brains of those people is an appropriate thing to do. And that'll just be fodder for the next 90-day report we have to give.
So I submitted to Amy this week an update on where I think we stand that could be posted on the website. I hope you saw that. There were 3 pictures, and there was like a 1-page write-up of where we stand. I think that would be very helpful. One of the primary recommendations in the 5-point plan that I have prepared is to gather more public input. I feel that we are maybe unnecessarily limiting our options if we're only talking among ourselves and talking among the members of the board of the Friends of the Libby Museum. There may be people in the community, and not just Wolfeboro, but Tuftonboro and other towns, who care very deeply and would like to step forward and be invited to be involved. And I worry that we're missing that opportunity, so I'd really like to see that happen this summer as well.
So I agree with you, and I think that's what Linda and I are going to come to you, and that's going to be part of our discussion. And I think part of our discussion will be the idea of a group that could chauffeur this to a new nonprofit. I think that what we do need to do, and that's what Paul and John are going to be are doing, is going to the Friends of the Libby and finding out what they plan to do in the future, if anything. What do they think their role is going to be? It seems like they just want to be in the back right now and just support it the way they always did, that they don't want to go into a new reconstruction. I agree with you that there are people out there that still will be willing to give money to this project if we had a project, but we don't right now. And John was right in the fact that our town council has told us, and I've said this for 4 meetings, we have a fiduciary responsibility to not let that building fall down. Whether we like the building or not, we like the Libby or not, or we think it's in bad disrepair, we have the monies right now, and we have a fiduciary duty to keep it up. We're waiting for a contract because we can't sign on the dotted line, fix it until we have a contract from them.
Right, and it will be coming next week, we have been told.
And so maybe Linda and I meet with you once that contract is in place. That would be a good time for us.
Yeah, we can look at what times look, is best. I think we're looking now for what kind of trustees might possibly be out, and we're reaching out to 2 that have some capabilities.
That's right.
And that's all we're doing, because that's one of the steps that we need to make, and you've helped us with some of the building stuff, and you may have some ideas on the other, and that's why Brian and I will be visiting your group and exploring in more detail all the possibility ways we could go.
We meet every other Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Would that be convenient for you on July 25th?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. She's booking an appointment.
I like it. July 25th, what time?
Well, let me look to
10?
see where I am.
You said 10 o'clock?
Usually at the library.
I will clear my schedule for you.
So prepare for a brain
At what
picking.
time, 10 o'clock?
10.
At the library?
10 o'clock at the library.
July 25th.
And to reassure, we are both groups have the same framework
Yes.
process. We don't have 2 different scenarios. We have one framework that we're both working on.
Well, that's what we'd like to get to.
Okay.
We don't know.
Well,
Suzanne has joined the Board of the Friends. Maybe she'd like to speak, but we don't know what they're thinking.
But what we're thinking of our 2 groups is we have the same criteria that we're seeking to find out. We have the same goal.
So, Maggie, at the point of belaboring it, watch the movie. The movie goes like this. And I'm not going to, talk about our fiduciary lack or not lack of responsibility. We told ourselves 2 years ago that we had neglected the building. That was a trigger for me. We have. We haven't invested in it. We need to. Somebody needs to. We know that property, the building and the assets in the building, in my view, will always fall off the table when it comes to that 22% of the operating budget that we got to figure out how to spend to pave more roads, to fix the sidewalks, to do that. And so it is a pipe dream, disrespectful comment, I'm sorry, to think that we could carry that forward. You know that, you told us that, and we've told ourselves that. We did a first things first discussion. Brace up the building, get the collection out of there. You told us, bad idea. Fix up the building, keep the collection in there. Okay, but that was not the ultimate objective. The ultimate objective is to find a qualified operator. We probably at this time don't have a good, clean answer on finding a qualified operator. That's not to suggest that there's not one out there, but we don't have a good answer. It would look really embarrassing if we kind of hummed at the Attorney General and said, we're working hard, but we really don't have an answer. So we've taken, at least in my view, we've taken the decision to bust this thing up on 2 tracks, be consistent about what we think is the amount of money that it's going to take to fix this thing up, and to pick your brain and to pick their brain. Put all the background stuff, all the emails, all that crap in the background, put it away, and just figure out whether we can make this thing work or not. It's binary to me. I like to get to A's or B's. And that's kind of where we are, and that will inform us as to what our next step is. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we got to get the building braced up, we got to get the collection
Evaluated.
evaluated. We got to do all that stuff. But to me, that's sideshow. It's sideshow stuff. The main event is have somebody come and say, I want to save that place. It's not going to be, in my view, it's not going to be us.
Right.
And the happiest day of our lives would be that someone steps forward with money and motive to do it. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have to take another step. And we can always forecast what that could be, but we have to go through that first gate.
I agree completely, Paul, and I think that's very well put. The only thing I would like to add is when you said we neglected the building, the Friends of the Libby carried the water for the town for many years and made that thing operate, took care of seeing that it was opened. I know you paid the salary of the director, but they contributed a lot of money, a lot of volunteer hours, a lot of new collections materials, and I don't want us to lose sight of that. They have tremendous knowledge of how that place runs.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I really do think we need to get them to the table and talk to them, and it's been more than 40, and not have a competing nonprofit that's still trying to raise money for a museum that is now going to be owned not by the town.
Yeah, and I thank you for all that you're doing, because when we say we have neglected the building, it's 70 years of a select board not understanding the mechanics and the construction of that building that has piled on and piled on. Even with all the studies and all the work that we've done, we find out now that ventilation was closed off by one contractor one time, something else happened another time. So, it's great now that we have, or are getting at least a grasp on how the building works and how to keep it from falling down imminently.
And to remediate those moisture problems that have been chronic. Yeah, no, I agree. Thank you for your time.
Maggie, you had asked a question, I'm not, again, we're sorry, about publishing something in the Granite State News. My personal advice is no, not yet.
Okay.
That's, I'm only speaking as one person.
I got to agree with you. I think
I'd
right
say
now
no.
we need to.
I'd say at this time, no.
How about putting that update on the town website?
No. I
Okay.
think we're early. Okay? That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
We need to wait for the contracts, what it's going to cost and those things. Then we can put all of that up on the website.
Okay.
That's my feeling.
Yeah, because if,
And that's going to happen within,
Soon.
from what we understand from Jim and stuff, within the next couple of weeks.
yeah.
So,
And again, my view is, no, not disrespectful. Yeah, I'm just, you know me, I'm not being, that to me is we're working hard. I want to do, we're doing good. There's work hard and do good. I want to have a do good. This is some good we did. And I know that you're working hard and people were up on scaffoldings and saws and all that. That's a work hard. A contract that shows that the building is getting, done, an update on where the collection valuation
Yep, you're right.
valuation stands, all of that, that's an end point. That's where I'd like to.
Yeah, the first thing people are going to say is what's what's happening with the collection? What's the value of the collection? They're going to be asking, how much is it going to cost to stabilize the back of the building? And so we should have all those pieces put together for those questions.
And then we can do pictures.
What?
Then we can do pictures.
Okay.
Thanks, Maggie.
I'm glad you like the pictures. Thank you.
all right, any
Just
more?
thanks to Howard, too, because he's here to back me up, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to come out of,
I move that
Libby.
we come out of the Libby trustees meeting.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye. And just for purposes, we don't have to copy over anything and do anything as select board members. We're just taking,
We're doing these as, as the Libby trustees, that motion,
Right.
that's how we're acting,
okay, good.
in my mind.
But we just got asked as members of the board to publish stuff, but we're fine. We're good. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is any old business?
I do. I have one. I guess it was last Friday, Brian, John, and myself walked the mountain bike trails, and we made some changes in different places, moved the trails a little bit, but stayed within the agreed amount of area in which the trails could swing. The main reason was we wanted to not go through wetlands, but in front of you, you have an email from Chris Dow, and there are the red dots, and that trail that we are going to move is out of that range, and felt we needed to come back to the board with a map and to talk about it. John, do you have anything to add here?
So I was just saying to Jim, the paper that we have is we have the same picture, but we have two pictures of the same location. I do.
Yeah, but
So-
that's there was only that one spot, which it went out of the area of, what did we say, it was 10 feet either side. This one went outside. This was the only one that we talked about when we walked that needed to come back and get a vote from the board. Brian, is that what you're understanding?
I think it's 15 feet, if they go more than 15 feet, and that's the one, John, that you said move around the wetland and go through the small piece of the stone wall where we only have to move a few rocks.
Well,
That was-
those are two different locations. That's what I'm trying to say. So the first location was the upper one up next to the field. That's where the jig jog was. We were minimizing the amount of wall that we were going over, and then the second one was the wetland area.
One was within 15 feet, they said.
Correct.
And so that one we don't have to update. The only one we have to update on is the one that was more than a 15-foot deviation from the original map.
Are you telling us that this map does not represent the one that we went through the woods? And we really moved it. We moved it a large distance to come around that wetland.
Correct.
And
That is not this one. This one is up near the top of the stone wall where the field is, because that was the jog.
Okay.
That was This is the one way up by the old Mitchell property where the right-hand side of the field was. This is where the stone wall was. This isn't where the,
I'm trying to, he sent us, that was the one that I thought he blew up. Right, we need to table it until we get the right picture. He did send a map that didn't it go out to everybody to look at? Didn't you get one, John?
I did.
Okay, and then he blew this one up, and I thought this was the one he was talking about. That's the one he sent us. So how would you like to move forward on this? Do you want to table it?
No, I think we're talking about a minimal area. I mean, three of us saw it. Does anybody else have a problem with not seeing the picture?
No?
I think we should just move on.
So we're going to get a motion to accept the changes that the three of us
Correct.
made to the mountain bike trails. I'll
Correct.
make that motion.
I'll second it.
Can we amend your motion and to have a proper map sent to us with the new trail location?
I think you got it. That's what I asked you. This was just the blown-up section.
I think the only one I've seen is the one that John has.
I saw he sent two, and that's why I asked.
It may have been, since I wasn't there, I was in Yellowstone. It may have been just an error, but Mr. Thurston and the other two have agreed to the layout. I would presume that Chris is going to send us an adjusted map. Even if he hasn't, he will.
I will do that and have him send it. I'm having real trouble with my internet, so
All right, any further discussion?
Don't get me started.
We're basically saying that we want another plan of,
And I agree
The way it
with
was
Brian.
moved.
We need a map.
yeah,
You want a map?
So I add that to the motion.
okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any other old business? Any other business?
Yeah, I have other business. Since I'm having such issues with my internet, I was not able to get you the town manager's evaluation form, which we need to review. I send this out every year. Nobody says, oh, let's change this. We do the evaluation, and you all say to me, I don't like the form. I don't care what form we use. If somebody has a better form, that's great. I
is
think
fine.
Amy must have a copy of the form, and I will see if I can get it out to the board.
I have no objection with the form. We can talk about the content at a later time.
Yep.
The only thing I want to make sure we can do is that I can fill the form out from my laptop. And I don't consider myself technically inert, but I can't fill that form out from my laptop.
I can.
Well, but
my
you're having trouble with
laptop.
your internet.
But
So
from my
there you go.
laptop.
So I'd like to just ask if Amy or somebody could just make it so that I could fill it out as easily as I can fill out a form to send money to the IRS. And then we can have a debate about what the content is. But the form, just get it out and we'll start looking at it.
So I thought maybe we'd add it to the August 6th agenda, Jim.
Too bad. You have to.
Got it?
Okay.
I can't do them.
Any other business?
Yes. So I sent this to everybody. They should have gotten it. And it's because Paul last time asked for it. And what I wanted to do is for this year, and it's because I look at other things like our food trucks. And with our food trucks, we require them to have all their state certifications in place in order to have food trucks in our town. Our restaurants have to have all their state certification. So I would like for any boat that we have a leased dock, or anyone that has a landing permit that comes to the town docks, that they supply us with a commercial inspection certificate for their boat, a commercial boat license for any operator of their boat, state authorization as a common carrier when applicable, and state authorization as a rental agent when applicable. So the authorization as a rental agent would mean the jet skis, and the authorization as a common carrier would be anybody who puts people on their boat for any purpose of a passenger. And I believe that most of our people that we have landing fees and leases with are compliant with this, but we should have this on file, because if we are collecting fees for them to operate, they should be operating based on state and DOT regulations. Just like we're asking that for the no parking zones.
And you're assuming that every person that is a captain of a
Correct.
boat does that?
Not
even?
just the owner of the business, but every person who's driving a boat
I
needs
just
to
wanted to
have
get
that
clarity.
commercial boat license.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so can I speak to it, Dave?
Yeah.
So I sent a question to Amy and Jim about this one. First of all, I got it Sunday night, Monday morning, actually, so, and that's not, I'm not poking at you. I was, my question goes like this, and I saw the list of all the things. Given our current permitting process and activity, is the information that Mr. Deshays is requiring in his motion already required by an applicant in order to get insurance? In other words, if I'm going to run a commercial boat business where I'm taking passengers out, am I not required to have an inspection, a license in good standing, you know, boating license, and anybody who drives the boat? Am I not already required to do that, so that when I go to my insurance company and say, hey, I want to get insurance for this thing, the insurance company has their own checklist and says, okay. And if the answer to that is yes, then I would not be in support of doing this, because it's just duplicative. If the answer to that is no,
Yes.
then are you suggesting that we may have people that are, the negative side, we may have people getting these licenses or getting these permits to operate and they're not complying? So what's the answer?
So it's just like a food truck. The person who has insurance on their food truck, that insurance company doesn't make sure that they're in state compliance.
Or do they have a, well, I'm not talking about food trucks, I'm talking about a commercial, I understand, maybe somebody has a food truck and they got, animals in the back. I'm just trying to understand for the current thing we're doing.
The same thing, an insurance company does not care if the person is a certified captain, does not care if they have a safety inspection on their vessel. They're insuring them to operate their boat.
And we know that for a fact.
Yes.
My insurance company doesn't ask me whether I have gotten my car inspected. They don't know that.
I'm not going to ask you that anymore.
No, but they will to the end of this year. Yeah. So it's the same thing, I think he's saying.
Yes.
So I've gone into the office and Amy has come up with the program for the leasing and said, so-and-so needs this insurance document. I call Primex. And she runs it by the town's insurance company to make sure that everything's all set. So are we creating another process off to the side, or are we not following the process that's already there?
So we don't have a process because we've never asked for this documentation for the people that use our docks. We've given out permits to them without asking, are you a licensed captain? Does your boat have a safety inspection? So on and so on. We haven't done that, which is state requirements. And to Paul speaking, I actually emailed this request on July 8th.
I got it Monday.
It just took a while for the town to get it.
No, I'm not poking. I got it Monday. Yeah.
I don't think I have enough information in order to make a determination on this. I think it should go back to Jim and say, is this what we want to do?
That would be like saying, if you're running a boat and you bring it into our docks, we should ask you for your driver's license for a boat? Because there's plenty of people out here.
No, the difference
that use. No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people out here who use our docks that I'm sure don't have a boat license.
We don't have a contract with them and they're not paying us. This is different, completely different animal. We are taking and we are issuing them a permit to use our docks, and they are paying us to use our docks. And so it doesn't matter if they have a safety inspection or if they have the ability to operate their boat correctly. That's different than Joe Banana coming from Laconia, driving a 63 whaler with a broken motor and not having a boating certificate. He's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is the people that are paying us to use our assets.
All right. Okay. Let's shorten up the discussion and vote on this.
Well, I think people have asked for some time. Are you willing to let them, and we do this next meeting?
I'll table it to the next meeting if John
Okay,
needs,
that's
if
fine.
John needs
Let's
more
get some
information.
Well, I think, I think Paul has a question, so.
So you have all the links on the email, and you can go and you can,
Okay, is there any other business?
Yeah, I have one other business. I see that the police chief is in the audience, and I'd like to know how you're doing with giving parking tickets. There seems to be more parking spaces downtown. Do you have any statistics for us?
Uh-oh. Come on to the microphone.
sorry.
So that everybody, and who are you?
Since mid-June to date, I believe our numbers of parking tickets are around 168, 170.
Okay.
We've gone back to chalking,
Okay.
and that seems to be helping out quite a bit as well.
Okay, that's why I just want people in the audience to know you're out there marking tires and there are tickets coming.
Are you
Yeah.
getting any thought leadership from people?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you receiving any thought leadership from people who are being tagged?
I think most of the conversations with the folks that we're seeing out in and around the town seem to be split up into several groups. Number one is there are several business owners that are very upset that other business owners are allowing their employees to park downtown. That's one we hear a lot of. We hear a lot of concerns about the fact that there's less places because of the new safety zones. But I'm not seeing that concern in lack of spots. With the foot patrols that we've been doing, and I've been talking with the officers who are doing them, they're not seeing that there's no place for people to go either. So, we tend to see several vehicles that are parked there for quite a while, extending over the 2 hours. But ultimately, I think it's been pretty smooth. People have been accepting of their responsibilities.
Good.
Good,
And your
thank you.
ticket count numbers are up this year compared to previous years?
Compared to last year. I haven't looked farther back than that. But we also have more personnel right now than we did last year. So,
Correct.
And congratulations on that.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you also tell the public how many officers you have now? Because you have now increased.
As of July 21st, when we swear in our next officer, we'll be up to 12.
Thank you.
Our complement is 14.
Can I ask one last question?
Yeah, me too.
Go ahead. It's almost 10 o'clock.
Comment and question. Thanks for what everyone did at the parade, Public Works, Fire and Police. How did it go from your perspective?
I thought it went very well. As I reported to the Police Commission just recently at our last meeting, I found that the event, even though it was very well attended, because I think mostly because of the great weather we had, I think it went very well. We had nothing that was reported that was out of the ordinary or a spike, if you will. The people behaved very well. They were very polite to each other. Yeah, no problems.
Thank you, Chief.
So I have one more. So this is with Jim here. So last time we talked about food service trucks parking in the safety zones next to the crosswalks. And I know Linda said when I made the recommendation, well, they should be parking up on the hill where the bus parking is, and she said, well, that's bus parking. But what I'm trying to narrow down is if these food service trucks are coming in the mid-morning, the buses aren't really there right now. The buses have a parking spot over there by Foss Field. And so what I'm trying to get in coordination is when we see a truck parked in the safety zone and it's later on in the day, like at 1 o'clock, and we know that there's a lot of pedestrians out there, we know that that's a hazard because you got a big vehicle and somebody wants to walk up across that crosswalk, and now you have a big vehicle. So this is what happened the other day. I came through town and the gentleman was unloading some product, and I said, "You're in the safety zone." He says, "Well, technically not, because I'm in a parking spot." Half of his truck was in a parking spot and the other half was in the safety zone. So his interpretation was he was in a parking spot because only half of his truck was in the parking spot. What are we doing to address that?
Well, you say food service truck, you just talk about loading and unloading of merchandise to.
Yeah.
Anywhere they go, other than in a parking space, is a hazard. We know that. Trucks are allowed by ordinance, my understanding, to double park to offload.
Okay.
That's dangerous. We know that's the price of doing business in a small town with a lot of community and small lanes. My biggest concern is to make sure that when someone's crossing the street, they can see cars coming and going. They too have a responsibility, as we know. Just because they're in a crosswalk doesn't mean they can just shoot across without looking. That said, anywhere where a truck is going to be loading and offloading down a ramp, pedestrian either behind the truck or in front of the truck still bears the same responsibility, and there's less visibility for everybody involved. So anytime that myself or the officers have been down there when there is loading, we typically hang out in that area until that truck gets moving. If that truck is in an area where the officer perceives that it's more of a danger than we can deal with, they'll have the truck move.
Okay.
And I've done that on several occasions in the last 2 weeks alone.
So the conversation goes to Jim. I talked to you last time and said, could we coordinate with the business owners to, to use that hillside area for loading and unloading and to try to minimize the double parking, and because 9 times out of 10 the hill is open.
Well, I think that you have to address the ordinance, because if it states in the ordinance that they can double park,
Yes.
that needs to be addressed before we can address, these are your designated parking spots for X period.
Understood.
I think you make a valid concern. I think it's a challenging situation for all of the deliveries, and I think it requires a greater conversation.
There's a bigger picture here, all due respect, John, in that if we're moving the trucks to load and offload at off hours, then we have noise complaint problems. So it's choose your issue. And I would certainly be open to meeting with the board at any time to discuss those concerns as well, with noise and that type of thing.
So Dave, while you're talking about it, we have had problems with dumpsters being dumped at 4 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock. We've seen those people. So there are towns now that actually require, it's on their books, for dumpster trucks to come after quiet hours end. I found 8 towns in New Hampshire that do that already. So that's number one. Number two, by creating the large spots, we have an unintended consequence now where the trucks will get off and not double park because it's safer for them to park on the crosswalks where they used to just double park but didn't park on the crosswalks because they were trying not to park.
No, they just double parked in the street.
So but they were double parking in the street.
What a terrific business problem.
Hold on, let me finish. Please don't interrupt. There were buses that used that drop-off space. There were also buses that are using the trolley drop-off space out by the railroad station when they're not supposed to. They're supposed to use the drop-off space up by the pet store, and they come in sometimes during the week, sometimes on weekends. I saw a truck come in today at 4:15 when I was going through town that was pulling over to deliver supplies and double parking first and then moved into a crosswalk spot with 2 parking spots. He pulled up and then he goes, oh, I'll just pull into here. I didn't have time to take a picture because I was driving to get to our earlier meeting. So there are a lot of things that are going on at the same time. It's not as simple as you go here, you go there, and we're all done, especially when we already have dedicated spots for buses and for trucks.
I think the chief explained it pretty calmly and very good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right.
Bless you, Chief.
Next on the agenda is town manager's report.
Couple things. CIP's rolling along. Budget, obviously you received that. Fire department, ambulance, we have hired a deputy chief. He will be starting on August 4th. I'll be meeting with him that morning with the chief and the other deputy to create a schedule as to deliverables to get this ambulance program off the ground. I'm hopeful that during the week of the 4th, I can get him in here to that select board meeting to introduce you to him. Amy has recently completed the Certified Public Managers Program, which is held by Bureau of Education and Training. She's been in the program since 2004. It's a nationally accredited program for certifying public managers. Core competencies include personnel, organizational integrity, managing work, leading people, developing staff, systematic integration, public service focus, and change leadership. Her capstone project for this was the community center, and I believe you guys are working with her as a subcommittee on the redevelopment of the community center, multi-generational center. So that has occurred. And lastly, let me get the date correct. On July 20th, which is this coming Sunday, Marine Patrol will be have 2 officers down at the town docks doing the informal inspections for boats. Anybody that would like to have their boat inspected, as was discussed here when they came in front of us to get the landing permit. That is Sunday, July 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. And that's all I have.
Okay, committee reports. John?
Okay. So we did have the multi-generational meeting for the community center. Amy is working on presenting the CIP. She's also organized another meeting with Ty and Bond so that we can come up with 2 conceptual plans with the structures that are there. We did a site walk for the trail group, and last night I had a planning board meeting. We had the pickleball court, which was approved out on Route 28, and we had Brewster Academy that is going to be continued till August 19th. And we had one other item, which was a property in town where the contractor had dug material out, piled the material in a wetland buffer setback. It was noticed that the wetland buffer setback was filled. We addressed the issue to mitigate the problem. The Conservation Commission noted some adjustments that they'd like to make with the plan, and in doing so, the board listened to other testimony relative to the infiltration trench that the applicant was supposed to build. I'm here to say that I think that the planning board chair missed an opportunity to create a true infiltration area, and I think there was vice chairman on the board who did agree with the adjustments in the plan, but the rest of the board didn't understand it the way I see it, and the plan was approved as it was. I do have some concerns with the abutting property and the way that the plan was accepted. So, and that's all I have.
All right, I had a Conservation Commission meeting at which they discussed that trotting track property, and they have a site visit tomorrow at 1. I won't be able to make it. I have to be at a doctor's appointment. But anyway, I had a Conservation Commission meeting, and also with John in reference to the community center. That's all I have. Linda?
Yeah, I attended the Friends of Pop Whalen meeting. They're putting on a golf tournament to try to raise some more money. I also met with Dave and John, Christine and Amy on the multi-age community center. Looks like we are going to hope to bring something up on August 8th. I gave the Board of Selectmen's report to the Chamber Executive Board. My report highlighted the Board of Selectmen's discussions over the last month. I walked the Abenaki trails, mountain bike trails, and Sprayfield trails with John, Brian, Chris Dow, Chuck Sumner, and the Trail Builder, and we talked about that earlier. I attended the EDC monthly meeting with Brian, and I'll let Brian report on that. I attended the monthly community TV meeting. They're working on their fundraising activity, discussing additional members to the board, and we're reviewing their financial statements. I attended the monthly meeting of the library, and this is the increases 2025 over 2024. Hoopla, which is one of their online services, up 42%. Museum passes up 46%. Patreon count 27%. Overdrive, which has audiobooks, up 17%. Magazines up 53%. Ebooks up 13%. New Patreon's cards up 58%, renewals up 12%, circulation was up 3%, computer usage was up 51%, and this is in adult programs. Number of adult programs was up 52%, and the number of attendees was up 31%. As you can see, their landscaping project is done. The solar open house is on July 23rd at 2 p.m. They still are having some leakage problems in the basement. They're hoping that the new rubber conduit will arrive for the generator, which may help with the basement leaks. They purchased some ADA compliant furniture for the genealogy room, and they got a grant from the Library Foundation to add more shelves of large books. I attended the Heritage Historical Society monthly meeting. Their events have been well attended. They had an excellent turnout at the V&A Home and Garden Tour. On July 19th, The Fire Engine Club event showing old engines will take place at the museum, and they are working on coming up with the cost of repairs for the schoolhouse for the CIP for the 2026 warrant, if the price is high enough. I want to hand out to the board pictures, and this is, I'm going to talk about the assessment committee of Wolfeboro Waters. And we have been doing stream evaluations, taking a look at the flow rates and the nutrients. And this picture, if you go to the right-hand side, you'll see the white dock coming out, and you go down a little bit and you'll see the black coming out. That is where T40 is, and that's all the sediment going into Winter Harbor. This was taken by a drone in 2020, and that is the reason they are looking at the sediment and flows on T40, and this was what they looked at in order to do that. I am sorry to say that we are starting to get cyanobacteria outbreaks. There is one going on in Wentworth and Crescent Lake. The samples have been sent, and I want to remind people that there are these signs which are on our beaches, and I would like to have the Board of Selectmen put this down at the town docks, and this QR code will allow you to take your phone, and it'll take you into DES Healthy Swimmer Mapper, and it will show the location of the cyanobacteria if it's in bloom form. You can have cyanobacteria, and if it doesn't meet the count, it will not be a bloom. But that's how you check it. You can check it as you go out on your boat. They're at all our swim beaches. And that's all I have.
Paul?
Mr. Senecal, I was away from the 5th until yesterday enjoying Yellowstone National Park. Nothing to report.
Brian?
So I had a police commission meeting, and at the police commission meeting, we discussed parking, we discussed the tour buses, we discussed the food service trucks delivery, and the chief did a great job of explaining all that tonight, so kudos to him. I walked the Abernathy Trails with John and Linda, Christau, and the group, and the trails are shaping up in there. We had an EDC meeting and had Jonathan from Stantec come to the EDC meeting, and he came because the EDC, its members in general, had said that they had been receiving information from the community of problems with communication to them when the project was occurring. And so I thought that Jonathan could shed some light on how Stantec communicates with the community when they do a project. And as he explained, and he explained eloquently, 11 different times they posted what was happening online. He walked back and forth to all the businesses, told them what days he thought people were going to be operating equipment in front of them and whatnot. It's not perfect, as he said, with the infrastructure being so old, you hit things that you don't understand, and there are holdups for days, and then you accelerate past for days. So he did a great job of explaining all that. I did a lot of work, and I've been working really hard with Lucy Van Cleve on Winnipesaukee Day. We have a lot of vendors that have signed up. We have a lot of new vendors that have signed up. We're working hard to finalize our final donor financing, because this is a completely community-funded event through donations, and we're finding out that the economy is scaling back a little bit of our donations, but we're going to make it to the end. And Linda, I had a question on the signs. Are those signs posted at every one of our beaches in
Yes.
town?
Yes. Yes,
And
they-
you want one at the town docks?
Yes, there's one, I think,
also.
I think there's one in Cape Park, but this should be put on the docks. Because if you're going out, you may want to go out and swim, it'd be good to know. So if everybody's comfortable with that, I'll give it to Jim, and Public Works can find a good spot.
Is this
to
just
put
our town, or is this what's happening?
This is
From the state.
BES's flyer.
So this is from the state?
This is from the state. That's a QR code. That's the only way you're going to really find out about whether it's a bloom or not. We will post something later, but this is if I'm going out swimming, I'm going out in my boat and I want to know, I can just hit that QR code and find out whether the area I'm going to has any sign back
Now,
there.
do you know, are other communities putting up those signs also, or is it
They're,
just?
they all have been given the same signs. I'm assuming that if they have a beach, they'll put it on their beach. We're not, the ones that were given to Christine are to be up at the beach, and that's what she was going to do.
All right. And that's all I have, thanks.
Okay, Jim, any questions from the press?
She's not on.
Okay, public input. Anybody want to talk to us? Suzanne?
Suzanne Ryan. I sent you a couple of pictures just before photographs just before the meeting started. I think Paul saw his
I saw it.
earlier on. It's the monumental sewer pump station over on Lerner Street. Will go down as one of the legends of Wolfeboro. It reminds me of downtown Pittsburgh, for which I had the unfortunate opportunity of living. I heard earlier this evening about the importance of the coming down onto Main Street from up above and the curbings, how important the curbings were to the appeal of our street and our center core. I remind you that we spent in the vicinity of $10,000 for a charrette that the Heritage Commission put on, which was to beautify that area, Lerner Street and Back Bay. Well, they missed the boat on this one because I haven't heard a peep from them, and I've been in, I think, twice before on this very issue asking, had anyone thought to leave an area for landscaping? And unfortunately, we heard there's no money available in that warrant article for landscaping. So I don't know, when I look at the second picture that I sent, it kind of, I can't figure out what you did with the street that comes up by Huck's Hoagie. I think there was a land transfer or a land arrangement a year or two back in that area, but it looks like that roadway that was, I think, one way coming out from the market, or one way, I
It's
think.
one way coming out.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's going to be wide enough for two-way. I can't understand why there wasn't some area left for something in between the sidewalk, the road, looks like a tar and curbing, and then more tar and more cement. It's a mess. It's really a mess. I don't know whose lame brain idea it was to go and hot top the whole thing. It's just hot top, hot top, hot top. I don't know why it couldn't have just been left in some state that would suitable to winter over until maybe in the spring when something could have been designed to take care of that area. But it's an embarrassment, it's a shame, and I feel sorry for the people who live across the street. I feel sorry for the people that go up and down that street. I feel sorry for the town, and I feel sorry that the board and the town manager let that happen, because it didn't have to happen. and it did, and we're stuck with it, and I don't know how it's going to be remedied. And shame on the Heritage Commission, too. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Isaac McKenzie, U.S. Mailboat. First of all, so I did actually spot some algae blooms this morning on the lake, and I had the privilege of texting some pictures to DES, and they did get back to me and confirmed it was just green filamentous algae, so not cyano. But it was very hot today with no wind, so it was pretty ideal conditions for those algae to bloom. But real quick about the proposal for commercial inspection, boater's license. So while I think that's a good idea to make sure that people are providing that when asked, I mean the commercial boater's licenses, those are good for 5 years. And the problem is, if you want them to have the commercial inspection for the landing permit, usually we're applying for landing permits before the summer, and the commercial inspection doesn't really take place until you schedule it with Marine Patrol once your boat is in the water and, before you're, in operation. But I just think it would complicate things if you're trying to get people to get their boat potentially inspected early spring or in the winter, when Marine Patrol may not have the manpower to be scheduling all those. And I don't know, just a thought about the sidewalks and those safety zones. The biggest offender that I've noticed in town is the spot right in front of Boba Beach Tea. And that was there before we even added all the other ones. And I remember last year, my daughter, she likes to spend my money there, so we go there often. And last year, I mentioned to one guy who was parked there, that he can't park there, and he resorted to profanities.
Where is the spot? Where is it?
So, where Boba Beach Tea is? It's right before Mill Street.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had a safety zone there, even last year, and then even this year, there was a couple people inside the store with us ordering, and I said, is that you guys parked in not a parking spot? And they're like, well, yeah, but we have someone sitting in the car. And I'm like, well, the whole reason is so we can see people on the sidewalks. And that one's been there before we added all the other ones. And then last thing I just want to add, just want to bring some more history for you guys. So here's one of my father's earlier advertisements for the Gray Ghost. Still 54 miles, 3 hours. I mean, just about, other than, Lakes Region Sports Shop, there's even a here for Kingswood Travel Service that, handled reservations before that. Charter trips arranged. Obviously, much cheaper back then, $4 for adults, $3 for 12 and under, but we are still, I mean, we may charge 10 times that now, but, certainly boats cost 20 times that now. So we are still, the affordable option compared to renting hourly, but, nothing, I just want to point out that nothing has changed, at least since my father's done it. Even before that, the Tonamar would do private charters and take passengers. And I can actually, rather than hand these out to you, if you guys would prefer, I just email them to you to save time. So I got some photos of not only the Gray Ghost, but then the Blue Ghost, and then the Blue Ghost 2. And then last year, I went to the Country Bookseller, and I spent about $300 on all sorts of books, a lot of them from Glenn over at Walgreens. He writes a lot of history books. Bruce Heald as well. So there was this book that I bought, The United States Mailboat, Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire. It's got the Uncle Sam there, the old steamship, the Sophie C., the Mount Washington. It mentions all that, but not a single word in here about the mailboat on our side of the lake. So we are a bit of an unwritten in the history books, but we have history all the way back to when the Uncle Sam was a steamship. We had the Columbia on this side of the lake, still delivering mail to Camp Belknap, taking passengers. So that's all. And I will email these other pictures to you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. I'm against. Why don't you spend